Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Murder Church. Get in your seats. We're about to go into episode 6 of the Phil Spector murder trial, Hollywood trial. It's been a wild ride so far. I think we're going to be looking at a few different witnesses today. The first coming up, I believe, this is where we left off. I believe it's the LA County Deputy Medical Examiner, Dr. Louis Pena, taking the stand outside of the presence of the jury. So we're going to keep rolling down this road. Thanks so much for coming in here. Please hit the like. Please share this out. Let people know that you're hanging out on Murder Church this morning. I just posted on Twitter and on X. If you guys could share that out, that would be absolutely amazing for me. Just streaming live on YouTube this morning. So yeah, make sure people know that we are on YouTube with that share. Really appreciate that. And coming at you guys. Hope you had a great weekend.
Let's rock.
Yo, good morning, everybody. What's happening? Murder Church on the air, baby. Sunday morning, we've made it. Appreciate everybody for coming in here. I'm gonna hit myself with a little bit of saturation real quick. Drop the contrast just slightly. There we go. There we go. It was a little too bright. A little too bright this morning. What's up, everybody? Get in here. Get the hell in here. What's happening? Don't let me forget those bells, Viv. I seen her name, and that triggered me hitting the bells, which is going to be sweet. So that's how I'm going to definitely start the morning here in just a moment. Who else hanging out this morning as we're going to continue this wild-ass trial of Phil Spector? I need to get the chat in here also real quick. Pop it out. Bada bing, bada boom. Got some beautiful folks hanging out this morning. Appreciate it. 28 people. 27 people in here. 13 likes. Get that like up. Give me a like-see, guys. Help a brother out. Let's see who all's in here real quick. CH coming through here. Disney Nerd coming through here. Kai's coming through here. Sweet Lou, good morning, coming through here. Art with Viv, of course. Looked like you had a great morning. Every one of your mornings looks absolutely amazing. Actually, you're living an awesome life, Viv. Jesse Charles, baby. Hell yeah. Sheila Duffy's in this son of a bitch. City Kitty coming through here. That's what I'd like to see. Drew's in here this morning. Dizzy made her way through. Thank you for modding, per usual, Dizzy. Absolutely one of the MVP of this entire fucking community, if we're just going to be honest real quick. Everybody's coming through here. Appreciate it. Sarah coming through here. Aspiring court reporter. I think I got everybody. Thanks, guys. Gabby's coming in here a little late. Gabby hung out with me all night watching wrestling. That was fucking awesome, Gabby. Thank you so much. That was really cool. Wildside did also. Yeah, Jersey Jen coming through here. Donnie Kuntz coming through here. Love it. All the beautiful people. All the beautiful people. Get the bells. Let me make sure the bells are working. Yeah. Got to get those bells rocking and rolling, baby. Only way to start Murder Church is with the official bells. I have to go upstairs. I'm going to go ahead and start the video. I have to go upstairs and make some coffee. I was running slightly behind this morning, probably because I was up so late. But yeah, that's just how we rock and roll here at PubliclyBuzzed. We're not messing around. If anybody missed Phil Friday on Kick, Oh, wow. We had a crazy episode watching The Naked Gun. Me and Dan got into an insane debate about South Korean penises that are circumcised, and those circumcised, the skin or whatever is injected into celebrities' faces. And yeah, we went down a crazy rabbit hole and had completely different opinions on that. I'm going to try to clip that out today if I get some time. Dan, I saw the next morning on Saturday when I woke up, he had made a tweet at 3 a.m. saying, if anybody sees any of the clips today, just know that I'm a little crazy sometimes. Nah, man, your opinion's your opinion, dude. I mean, and he made a good stance on it, too. And honestly, people do it, so clearly it's not that big of a deal. I think it's creepy because how specific it comes from a very specific child, very specific baby. And then mostly celebs, so they seem to be the people who can actually afford to do it. I don't know. It sounded fucking weird. We're going to rock and roll. I got to go get some freaking coffee, guys. Let's rock and roll. I'm going to make sure the sound is in here working properly, just real quick. And let me actually also blow up the screen just slightly because I like to get that Court TV out of there. Boom. There we go. I think that should suffice. And then also let me move the Botrix chat over here. I had it set up just slightly different for the Twitch stream last night for the wrestling thing I do on Saturday nights. Bada bing, bada boom. Ready to rock and roll, guys. Hell yeah. Thank you very much. I'll be right back. I'm going to get some coffee. Yeah, let's go.
Do you have another witness?
We do, Dr.
I call him Doctor. Judge Bruce Willis.
Yes.
The Honorable Judge Bruce Willis.
I'll say it this time because he probably don't want to hear Mr. Jackson saying it again, but it's our same kind of, I don't want to say complaint, but same concern.
Okay.
Concern that we had earlier that we've really gone a little far afield here and we've lost focus of what I thought the main issue was in this hearing. We have Dr. Pena and we have really the DNA crime lab expert coming in here. And we were just trying to have a conversation to find out exactly what was going to be offered before the court.
Okay.
And when we were
Love
told...
it. Love everybody coming in here. Get in the pews. Get in your seats.
We might stipulate to that and save the court and everybody here a whole lot of time. And then we heard, well, there's more stuff I want to know.
Let's have an offer proof.
Yeah, with reference
All right,
to
I'll be
Dr.
right
Pena,
back, guys.
He was the pathologist who did the autopsy on Lana Clarkson, and my focus for calling him is to talk about the gunshot residue in the mouth, the fact that he concluded it was an interoral gunshot wound where the gun was in the mouth, and there was visually abundant, massive amounts of soot, gunshot residue that was visible, etc. Two, that he examined the fingernail and the nails that are at issue, the broken nail and so forth, and there was no visible gunshot residue soot, and he can explain in detail what that is and what the significance is. I believe it will be Dr. Pena's opinion that there was no evidence that there was evidence that the gun was in the mouth when it went off, and there's no evidence that the thumb with the broken portion of the acrylic nail was in the mouth at the time that the gun went off. And had that been the case, then there would have been, based upon all the other evidence, there would have been some soot and debris that would have been visible, just like there was throughout the mouth. And he's going to explain that opinion to the court.
Where are you going with that?
Well, Mr. White says that he thought that there was on this.
I freaking hope so. We need to get this son of a bitch back in the courtroom for our amusement.
There was some
Get the clown back to the show.
Of whatever he saw, he thought it was
Ronnie, I'll be right back.
Mr. Jackson has impliedly made the assertion that this was a result of a struggle. If it was bullet white, it would have been the thumb and the nail at the time it was blown off and broken. If that were to have happened, it would have had to have been in the mouth at the time, because that's when the gunshot went off. And so how that nail then gets out of the mouth is just improbable, and it didn't happen based upon the evidence that there's no soot or anything around the rest of the nail and on the finger, when the whole mouth is full of that. And so Dr. Pena sort of ties that together, and that's the focus of his testimony.
Well, here's the problem, and I tend to agree with the people on this. I think you're missing the point. There's really 2 points, and one I raised when I allowed you this morning to put on some evidence. Ultimately, if I determine that somebody removed a piece of evidence, one, there's just generally the question of whether there should be sanctions. There's also the question, certainly the credibility of anybody who took that, if it was taken. And we're a long way, I'm a long way from making any determination if that individual, if there's an individual who took anything, and if they testify in this trial, certainly their credibility may be impeached by that if we get to that point, and there's a lot of ifs involved. There also, and I guess when I determine if I ever get to that point that such a thing happened, and if I have to determine the sanctions, perhaps the severity of anything that was removed, and I understand it may go to that point, but we seem to be taking a long time without Dr. Lee testifying at this point. Yes, Mr. White offered an opinion as to what he thought it might be, but he can't say with certainty. He has a certain degree of certainty, and I think we're putting the tail before the horse, quite frankly.
Well, Your Honor, Mr. White did give an opinion, and that
Yes.
opinion is being,
Well, here's what we have. We have Sarah Kaplan. I think everyone has agreed that her credibility, and if not, you can let me know, that she saw something put in a vial and removed. Now, what happened? What's in the vial? What ultimately happened? Those are questions that still have to be determined. I didn't hear anybody really challenge her credibility.
yeah,
No, I'm not done yet,
Oh, I'm
please. Okay? So when we find out, so something was taken, whether it was ever ultimately, and perhaps we need to hear from Dr. Lee, maybe he'll come in, I don't know, and say, oh, this is what's in the vial, I gave that to the prosecution. Maybe we have a tempest in a teapot, and maybe we don't. And maybe there's other explanations, I don't know. I have to hear the testimony, and I have to weigh it against other testimony, and I have to make certain factual findings and credibility findings. But I think, I honestly get the feeling at this point, with due respect, that there's an attempt to put on certain evidence, not necessarily for my benefit. And you can think about that for a second. I think we're getting way offline and spending an enormous amount of time, and this isn't in front of a jury, it's in front of me. And this isn't the first case I've ever heard. Mr. Bruno.
Did I take a small swipe at the ball?
Sure.
This evidence is being offered to support Dr. Lee's assertion that he didn't pick up a piece of fingernail and to impeach detective or former detective.
Was it Dr. Lee? How would you know what Dr. Lee's going to say?
Because he's already said it.
To who?
To the defense. This is not the first time. This is a reprieve. This is like Batman 2. We've been through this already.
Not in front of me.
Well,
You have some testimony? You have some testimony you want to show me? Has this been in?
No, it's statements. That,
Well, how would I know about those statements?
I'm telling you about it.
For the first time?
It was the first time. I don't mean to be flip about it, but we tried to say this the other day and didn't get it articulated. This has been a moving target. You have to admit that
It's been raised before.
right. But no, I mean this whole hearing, we've kind of gone from subject to subject, and the focus keeps getting refocused. I mean the people have commented upon that earlier today. Is that it wasn't clearly defined, which was a problem we had to begin with. However. Detective White, former Detective White, ex-detective, to the extent he has any credibility at all, there's only one partial fragment of a fingernail missing. He said, I saw what appeared...
That's not what he said. He saw something consistent with it.
Something consistent that had something consistent with bullet wipe on it. And if there's any assertion that the missing fragment was that, this will completely impeach it, because Dr. Pena will say, if that had been knocked off by a bullet or by a gunshot blast, it would have evidence of wipe or bullet on it, on the remaining thumb. So I mean, it impeaches White's observation insofar as that has any credibility. It also, we contend, will support Dr. Lee's contention. He never picked up a fingernail, and and White was just simply incorrect about.
Well, what did Dr. Lee pick up? As long as you've raised this, and apparently you've talked to him, do tell me, what did he say he picked up, if anything?
Well, I'm going to give you multiple layers of hearsay, but I will answer.
That's fine, we'll take it at this point.
Because there was a bit of fabric and a bit of tissue, a bit of fiber that's been turned over to them months ago.
2 items. And they're in packages.
They have it. They have what he picked up.
Have you ever shared this with the prosecution?
Yeah, they
have it.
They gave us pictures of it this morning. We asked them, this is what we're trying to get released for testing. That stuff that Dr. Lee gave them about, what, 6 months ago?
Let's pull the pictures out and show the court what the pictures are that Dr. Lee says he picked up at the scene. I mean,
Okay.
but why dance around it?
No, I got the pictures somewhere. They're somewhere in my pile of stuff.
Well, tell me what it is.
Well, there's one that looks like some fibrous material, fibers, whitish fibers, and then it's described in Dr. Lee's notes, because Dr. Lee's notes indicate he collected 2 things. One is this clump of fibers, and there's pictures of it. It's hard to describe, but white fibers with maybe some blood stains on it that was near, well, I don't know exactly where it was near. Then there was, on the stairs, there was what appeared to be some type of a blood stain that he picked up in crusted form, and now we've got a picture of it. It's just broken up little pieces of what looked like blood. That's what we were asking to get released to be DNA tested to determine for sure if it was Lana Clarkson's blood. We think that that's the item that possibly Mr. White and Dr. Lee were discussing, and it doesn't seem to be comport with Ms. Kaplan. In other words, we're not sure what she was talking about, because if I correctly remember her testimony, she said she saw a white object about the size of a fingernail, and I just don't know what the explanation is for that observation. But Dr. Lee's position, and it has been all along, we went over this with Leslie Abramson, is that right when they were going to have a hearing, Dr. Lee came in, and he was about to testify, and then the hearing got pushed off or canceled or whatever. He will very clearly say he never collected any fingernail or part of a fingernail or acrylic type fingernail at that scene. He collected the 2 items he documented in his notes and photographed that's been in the possession of the Sheriff's Department for some time now. That's all he collected. He observed other things.
What did he do with them?
He packaged them up. He took pictures of the packaging at the scene, and he retained them until the time they were sent to the Sheriff's Department.
Okay. I'll hear from people. Thank you.
Actually, Your Honor, I think I can short circuit it. You don't need to hear from us. I think the court should ask to look at those 2 photographs.
I'd like to see the
we've all
photographs.
heard what's been described very, very definitively by Sarah Kaplan and very, very definitively by Stan White. Let's take a look at the photographs of what Dr. Lee says he picked up.
Just show them to me.
Well, we actually sent somebody to the 17th floor to bring them down if that's
I've got them somewhere here.
All right, why don't you take a look? In the meantime, while you're looking for the photographs, what is your position on the defense reason for calling Dr. Pena?
I don't think that it speaks to the issue. If they're trying to debunk the idea of exactly what this is, in other words, they're trying to prove what the item is not. Again, going back to the arguments that we made this morning, that doesn't get us any further to determining what, if anything, Dr. Henry Lee took, if he took anything at all. I mean, we've got 4 out of 8 people now, 4 out of 8 people who were determined to be at the crime scene saying something was taken. Sarah Kaplan, Greg Diamond, who was corroborated, understandably there are differences in their testimony, but Sarah Kaplan, Greg Diamond, Stan White, and Robert Shapiro all indicated at one time or another that something was taken from that crime scene. That's half the people that were there. All we're trying to figure out is what was taken. Not that what Stan White may have seen is scientifically inconsistent with his opinion or belief about what he saw on that tissue in Dr. Lee's hands. And I think that's where we're going. I think this is an opportunity for the defense to present their science, not to this court, because it's not really the issue, but to the media. And I don't see it as being relevant to this inquiry.
They contend that the nail was collected by Dr. Lee. That was the subject of the previous hearing that never went forward, even though, as the court heard, Mr. White was flown from Iraq. Dr. Lee was flown in. He was ready to testify. And basically, there was a kind of a letter report that, according to Leslie Abramson, because we just got the actual letter the other day and we just turned that over, but that was basically she represented to the court and counsel at the time that Dr. Lee was here to say, I didn't collect any nail, and he was ready to testify, and then they canceled the evidentiary hearing. Now, why they did that, I don't know. But they contend that this nail was collected by Dr. Lee. That just didn't happen. And part of the proof that we have for that is the testimony of Dr. Pena and Steve Renteria, who was a criminalist at the Sheriff's Department crime line, because he analyzed all the nail material. He did an analysis, both DNA and also presumptive blood testing, on that, and he's able to testify to that. And he also was at the crime scene and he searched the areas where this is allegedly happened, because you have to assume that everybody else missed it. There were 30, 40 people who were at the crime scene. A lot of them, there was a group of people, according to the records that we have from the Sheriff's Department, that searched this area and all areas of the home for many, many hours. And you'd have to believe that they all missed something that Sarah Kaplan, missed something of evidentiary value that Sarah Kaplan all of a sudden just saw in plain sight. And we think that once the court hears all that evidence, it's illogical to believe that it's the nail or any other relevant piece of evidence.
Here's what you may do as the following. Please, I need everybody's attention. Will the people stipulate that both Dr. Pena and Mr. Renteria are suitably qualified to offer the testimony that they're about to offer?
Yes.
All right? So we don't need to go through any foundation.
That's fine.
You may call Dr. Pena and specifically, based upon your offer of proof, ask him about the fingernail, and he can offer certain opinions so that the court can make a determination as to whether whatever it was that Mr. White saw may or may not be a fingernail. Understandably, that's not conclusive as to whether anything else was taken, but it helps me focus on what the evidence is. It's limited to that and that alone. As to Mr. Renteria, he may be called to testify as to the search he's aware of in the area where Ms. Kaplan says she saw something recovered, so that the court may determine whether indeed something would have likely to have been missed, or the objects that everybody is claiming they may or may not be were missed. And that's what we're going to limit it to, because that's what's relevant to the hearing.
I agree. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Dr. Pena.
Actually, you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated. Would you state and spell your name for the record, please?
Luis Pena. First name is Louis. Last name is Pena.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Dr. Pena, I want to direct your attention to the 1700 Grandview Avenue in Alhambra and the date of February the 3rd of 2003. Did you go to a death scene at that location?
Yes.
And you saw a body of Alana Clarkson, later identified to you as?
Yes.
And when you were at the death scene, did you make observations of her body?
Yes.
And later on, at some point in time, did you conduct a post-mortem examination of that body?
Yes, I did.
Did part of your review of the body at the death scene as well as the autopsy include examining the hands of the decedent?
Yes.
Did it also include looking at the mouth or the oral cavity of the decedent?
Yes.
And when you looked at the mouth or the oral cavity of the decedent, did you notice any black material that you recognized?
Yes.
What did you notice? What did you see?
The first thing I noticed on her hard palate or the top roof of your mouth was some black grayish debris. At the time, I did not know what it would turn out to be. Later, it's identified as sooting. I also noted at the top of the tongue where the stellate laceration was seen by myself. There was also gunpowder debris embedded in that muscle tissue of the tongue.
Okay, I'm showing you what's been previously marked as exhibit number 9. Is that a diagram that you made of the material in the areas that you just described?
Of the tongue, yes.
Okay, and you said soot. What do you mean by soot?
Well, it's a when the gun is discharged and the bullet is traveling out the muzzle, it'll leave a blackish grayish debris depending on how close it is to the target it's going to hit. So the closer you are, the debris, the black debris will be deposited on in that area, whether it be skin or in the.
Oh, shout out real quick to Sheila Duffy coming through, giving us a retweet. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Getting the word out there, Sheila, this morning. That's what's up.
Soft tissue in this case.
Okay, and just to cover
Oh, Viv also. Oh, shit, we got some more sharing out here. The Vivster and Sarah, court aspiring reporter Sarah. Also, thank you guys so freaking much. Appreciate that. Getting it out there, baby.
Did you conclude that this was an intraoral gunshot wound?
Yes, it was.
And define that for the court, if you will.
Yeah, so I stopped streaming on X. I'm going to try to figure out maybe another platform to do it also. Like X, your numbers look decent, but I figured out a couple of things with the old X numbers. And I like X, and I like Twitter a lot, but they're kind of bullshit is what they are. And I think it's Elon trying to get people to use the platform because the numbers look so good. Because I was sitting here, I'm like, there's no way there's this many people watching on X compared to YouTube. And is Kaylin still hanging out in here? Kaylin is really one of the main reasons that we figured this out. So Kaylin will retweet one of my X posts for Murder Church, and that post will end up with like 1,000 people supposedly watching live. That's not happening. I don't know how their system works exactly, but it has to be a watch. It has to be a, like, I don't know how many seconds your eyes have to be on it for that to count for a full view, but it's acting like those views are steadily watching. That's literally not possible. So there's some fuckery going on there. So I just said, fuck it. I'm going to try to get as many eyes over on YouTube as possible to where at least the numbers seem way more accurate and real. Those Twitter X numbers are definitely inflated.
Well, that's based on a number of factors. One, as I just described with the sitting debris. The other is the weapon was test fired by Mr. Steve Carroll of the LA Sheriff's.
Oh shit, City Kitty coming in right behind it. Also with the retweet. Thank you so much, City Kitty.
And he put the distance approximately 2 to 3 inches when it was in the mouth from the ultimate target it's going to hit, which is the back of the throat. I base it on that information that the gun
Morning,
was in
Gambies.
the mouth.
Okay, and what's the court's next in order?
Next in order will be 16.
Number 16, showing you this diagram, Dr. Pena. Is that another diagram
Strychnine.
from yourself?
Yes, it is.
Is that the trajectory that you, of the bullet path?
Well, that's the direction as it strikes the intraoral at the back of the throat. It's a very crude drawing, but it gives you a basic direction of, as it's stated, it's front to back and slightly upward, but that is through the tissue only.
Okay.
Can I ask you, you speak almost as fast as I do sometimes. Can you slow down a little bit?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Yes, I will.
It's not for me. It's for the report.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry.
All right.
Now, Dr. Pena, based upon all the information that you had, you concluded that the weapon, in this case a .38 caliber, was in the mouth when the shot was fired. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in addition to what you've already explained as far as the basis for your opinion,
Thanks so much,
there's
Gabby.
some
Appreciate that.
dental debris that was broken off after the gun was fired.
Welcome in here, George.
Okay, explain to the court what that was from your observations.
From my observations, those are the two upper teeth of Ms. Clarkson, known as the central incisors, that due to the, in my opinion, due to the recoil and perhaps part of the blast effect when the gun is fired, the recoil, as I'm demonstrating with my hand, this type of motion, went up and struck the two upper front teeth, and the teeth were ejected out.
Okay, and were there any teeth that would
Nice,
walk
Viv.
inwards?
No.
Okay, and was all through the mouth, or in the inside of the lips and the cheeks and everything, was there a lot of blackish gunshot type material?
Actually not. Only in the one area called the hard palate, which is the top roof of our mouth, did I see a grayish debris.
Okay. Did you see pseudo-stippling?
Yes,
Love
I
it.
did.
What is that
That's so
compared to
cool.
the actual other material?
Morning, Brooklyn.
Pseudo-stippling, by definition, basically implies a bullet went through another
Morning,
object,
Kelly.
whether it be glass, whether it be a screen door, car door, etc. In this case here, the effect of this gunshot wound, meaning the bullet didn't strike the teeth, directly, but as a result of that gunshot wound, the teeth fractured, they blew out, and as a result of that, they struck the inner parts of her gum line and the buccal mucosa.
God, oh, well, I'm not going to make it today. I just jumped on Twitter, and Viv, what the fuck are you doing right now? Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it.
So we call it, or the
I'm so
intraoral
hungry
part.
now. Jesus,
And it
fuck.
left little
Coop's a lucky
shards
man.
like and caused lacerations or cuts.
Oops, lucky man, Viv.
And that's what I was seeing, and that's described as pseudo-stippling.
Okay, now I want to now focus on the hands of Lana Clarkson. Now, you were actually at the scene in addition to doing the evaluation, is that correct?
Yes.
And I want to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 14, and this is not a very good picture, but it's a picture of her right thumb. Did you have a chance to look at that at the scene?
Yes, I did.
Did you, or could you tell from looking at the mouth
fuck?
that there was a
I left my
gunshot in the
fucking
mouth
note.
at the scene, or did you make that
Where'd I put my
determination later?
That was later.
Okay. Did you see any blackish soot-type material on her right hand when you were at the scene?
Not grossly.
Okay, and when you got her, the decedent's body to, and this is now Exhibit 7, when you got
Lord.
the body to the medical examiner's office, did you have a chance to look at her hands and her fingernails?
Yes.
Okay, and here, this is a picture.
Welcome in, Bo.
Exhibit number 7 of her right thumbnail, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And was there any part of her right thumbnail that you saw was defective in some way when you made your observations of it?
Yes, there was.
And what was defective about the right thumbnail?
Well, if you look at the picture, her normal nail, natural nail, is the one without the color. She had a white acrylic, in my description, nail, and it's diagonal crack that you can see in the photo. That's the acrylic part, with the white tip portion also missing. But the natural nail that she has is underneath that. That was intact.
Did you see any damage to the natural nail?
No.
The portion of the nail of the natural nail where the acrylic is present, does it appear to be contiguous? In other words, does it match up together and flush up together?
Somewhat it does, yes.
Okay. And have you ever heard the term bullet wipe or lead residue when it comes to material or objects or anything like that?
Yes.
Have you ever, in your experience, ever seen that doing an autopsy?
Yes, I have.
Did you see any of that on the natural nail or any portion of the acrylic nail that was still on the decedent's right thumb?
Not grossly, no.
Okay. Did you see any type of gunshot residue or soot tattooing or anything such as that?
No.
Okay, and did you carefully look at the fingers and the nails and so forth?
For real?
regarding that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And
Lost in the tooth
Dr.
tooth
Pena.
debate.
I want you to assume the conclusion that you came to with reference to the shot that killed Lana Clarkson, that the gun was in the mouth a couple of inches, or what was your...
Well, from the muzzle point of that gun to the eventual target, which is the back of the throat.
Got 55 people hanging out in here this morning. One thing I'm going to do right now, out the gate, I don't think I've actually done this on Murder Church before. We're in a new month now. We just entered June, and every month I get 10 gifted memberships that I can give out. So I'm going to gift out 5 of these right now. Let's see who gets these. Let's start a little bit of some new memberships, at least gain an entry for free right now. Give me 1 second. I always forget about these. There's been months I've forgotten about all of these. So hold on. Let's see who gets these. Thanks. Read the Royals welcome in. It'd be cool if they just popped in and they get one immediately. Let's see who get one. Kai's grabbing one. Joni Deputy grabbed one. Sheila Duffy grabbed one. Bo Pete and Law Nerd Amber, who's back there lurking and who hasn't said shit this morning. Amber, what's up? Get in here.
Give me the loot! Give me the loot!
Welcome to the party. I'm going to let the judge say it for us.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Judge Bruce Willis entered all these sons of bitches in here. And anytime we ever give out or do memberships, and we have a lot of people that do gift out memberships also, make sure your memberships are turned on. And we give out the beers, the coffees, the liquor drinks, the probably nothings. Kelly knows. Right there, all in the chat, guys. So yeah, get in here. Welcome, guys. And this month I'm going to be working on trying to get some extra content for the members here on YouTube. I'm going to try to do a special stream. I'm going to try to get some special folks involved. So you're going to want to be a part of that, guys. Hell yeah.
It was test fired anywhere from 2 to 3 inches.
Okay, so it was in the mouth, and you know from that the side of the gun had to be in the mouth because that's what caught the tooth, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I want you to assume that the decedent's right thumb was in the mouth in front of the muzzle of the gun, the bullet end of the gun. Would you expect to find some type, based upon what you saw in the mouth, would you expect to
That's
find
sweet.
some
Hell yeah.
soot or markings on the nail or the thumb, if in fact that were true?
Jackson, that may be beyond his expertise.
Well, first of all, I'll ask, are you able to offer an opinion on that?
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
All right, the objection is sustained.
Did you see any evidence on the decedent's right thumb that her thumb was in the mouth when the gun was fired?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Can you offer an opinion on that?
No.
The objection is sustained.
Thank you. Nothing further?
Thank you, Cross.
No questions.
I'm not sure you can answer. From your standpoint as a coroner, let's assume that you had that piece of missing nail. Would it have proved valuable to you? Would you have been able to use it for some purpose of yours?
Well, from my experience, that nail would have been valuable to correlate it with the remaining nail that's there. And if they're sitting present on that absent piece, I would expect to find that on the nail. And likewise, if it's absent, I expect the nail,
Answer the
the
question,
natural nail,
sir.
to be absent also, along with the acrylic.
Any other purpose that it would have been valuable to you?
No.
All right, thank you. Anything further?
Yeah, briefly. Along the lines of the questions that the court asked, when a self-inflicted wound
Like to help the
is,
judge out sometimes.
done with a handgun, such as the one used here, is there evidence in the medical literature that sometimes a nail gets broken during that process?
Objection, this is irrelevant. For the purposes of this hearing, it's completely irrelevant.
Well, it's relevant to me in a limited fashion. I've talked about if I ever get to that point of determining if any evidence has been taken, what its value was, what the sanctions should be. It has some tangential relevance that I'm going to allow him to ask the question.
And I believe, to interpose a second objection, I believe that it assumes facts vastly, not in evidence.
Well, this is a hypothetical. And again, a hypothetical is
Alan
only
Jackson
as
and
good
Bruce
as
Willis
the
about the
facts
fight
in
right
the
here.
Hypothetical, and if it turns out they're not there, the hypothetical is worthless. All right, you may proceed.
I'll re-ask the question if I can.
Can you remember it?
Yes, I can.
Otherwise, Mr. Jackson's objection was cleverly designed.
No, we'll just have Cindy reread.
No, it's okay. Dr. Pena, in the medical literature regarding self-inflicted wounds, there's one of the things that is studied in the line of work that you do, determining manner of death, is features or characteristics of what you might want to look for regarding a self-inflicted wound versus some other type of wound. Is that correct?
It's very weak, to be honest with you, but it is in some of the some literature articles that I've read.
That whether or not a nail is fractured or broken is something to at least consider regarding a self-inflicted wound.
To be honest with you, I've never seen a single article with that reference to a nail on a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Have you ever, in your experience, had cases where nails are broken where a determination is made that it's a self-inflicted wound?
Never seen one.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, people.
We have a movie.
You may. All right. Anything further, anybody, at this
No,
point?
thank you, Dr. Pena.
Thank you for being here. You may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Steve Renfrey.
All right.
That's right. Let's see, are we going to get to some of the jury back in here today? Are we going to get Phil fucking Spector back in here at any time? L.A. County Sheriff's criminalist Steve Renteria takes the stand outside the presence of the jury. We're still on this shit.
Steve Renteria, Steverenteria.
Thank you. At least we know how to pronounce your last name now. I don't think anybody's gotten it right so far. You may proceed.
Mr. Renteria, thank you very much. I hope I don't too badly mispronounce your name. Can you tell the court what your job is with the Sheriff's Department as of the 3rd of February of 2003?
I'm a criminalist or forensic scientist for the Sheriff's Department, and my main function is DNA analysis in the laboratory, but I'm also, or I have also been trained on collecting evidence at field investigations when detectives need assistance in locating evidence, documenting, and collecting.
Okay. And were you the criminalist who responded to a scene at 1700 Grandview Avenue in Alhambra on the 3rd of February 2003?
Yes.
And were there a number of criminalists that responded from the Sheriff's Department in your laboratory?
There was one other criminalist that I had called in for assistance. His name is Robert Kyle.
Okay, and were there other people that were assisting you in the collection of evidence that you were supervising at that scene?
Well, the detectives were present, and obviously we were working under their direction. And at a later point, the coroner sent a team of investigators in for processing the body at the scene.
Okay, and just to, if I understand, were there two different roles between the coroner's people and your people from your laboratory?
Yes, that's the normal process when investigating a homicide. Any evidence on or with the body or the decedent is the responsibility of the coroner's office, and anything.
Jury's just like, I guess just go to the house. I don't know. What are we doing here? Lil Love snuck in here. What's up, Lil Love? Oh, shit. And Pamela Holtzman going to come through with some love with the $9.99 with the super sticker saying KO. Hell yeah, Pamela. Appreciate that. Helping me out this morning. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
Yep.
That is not on the victim or the decedent is the responsibility of the crime lab or the detectives working the case.
Okay, now, in addition to the criminalist that you said, Mr. Keel,
Trying to get my coffee to chill out here,
that assisted you, were there also forensic identification specialists that worked with you in order to search for and help identify and collect evidence?
Well, they actually have other functions there at the crime scene, mainly photography, crime scene documentation as far as sketches of the crime scene, and also for fingerprint or latent fingerprint examination at the scene. There's two different roles.
Okay, and the decedent was found in a foyer area of the home, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And was the foyer area, was it searched for evidence to your knowledge?
Yes.
Your Honor, if I'll find that court's patience here. If this witness is here to say that he and the others made a good search, even a comprehensive search, it doesn't make any difference if Dr. Lee picked something up and pocketed it.
Well, but it does in the overall picture. It helps me determine whether it's likely that he did or did not. We have testimony. Some of it may be uncontradicted, but also as to what it was, as to what it, if it's what it's purported to be by certain individuals, whether it's likely it would have been overlooked. Those things are all relevant. And I'm quite willing to hear it. You may proceed. The objection is overruled.
Just briefly, Mr. Renteria, with reference to the coroner's people and your staff and the two criminalists, including yourself, do you work together to process the scene to identify and collect evidence that might be useful in the investigation of the death?
Well, again, the coroner has a different function there in collecting evidence off the body. Now, we may be present when that is happening. In this particular case, the area was so large. I was in the area when the coroner team arrived and started doing their assessment, but I wasn't necessarily standing there with the coroner's criminalists or Dr. Pena at the time when they were doing their collection from the decedent.
When you were there, were you the person in charge as far as the Sheriff's Department personnel?
Well, I was in charge of myself and Robert Kyle. The detective is in charge of the crime scene.
Okay. Would the detective be looking for evidence and then giving you information as to what you might want to look for, collect, etc.?
That's correct.
Okay. And would the foyer area where the decedent was found, was evidence looked for in that area?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this morning we had testimony from one of the coroner's body processing evidence persons that she noticed a defect on the right thumbnail of the decedent. My question is, did you observe that?
I don't recall that myself, no.
Do you recall her telling either you or one of the detectives that one of the nails or portions of the acrylic nail was broken on the decedent's body? Do you recall that now?
I don't recall that.
Okay. When you looked for evidence at the scene, what evidence were you looking for?
Well, it's basically anything that looks like it might be potential evidence. Obviously, we don't know if it's evidence right at the point, but we try to look at things that are out of place, that maybe weren't there before the incident occurred. Then determine at that point if we think it might have evidence
in the
value,
house.
then collect it at that point.
Okay. Who searched the area where the decedent's body was in general, if you know?
I know I searched the area myself. I think Robert Kyle, or Bob Kyle, who assisted me, was also there.
See if I can take a drink of this without burning my face off.
The detectives present probably were looking in that area too.
Okay, this would include the area around the body as well as the area between the stairs and the body and the stairs themselves?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and give the court an idea of, how thoroughly you searched. Did you just walk around and look, or did you sort of go through like look at each step, for example, up the steps, et cetera?
Well, the main examination area was the foyer where the victim was present, and also the lower stairway just in front of the victim. We did look at the steps walking up one at a time, and we did notice some white material on a couple of the steps in that area. We did notice also some white material and wood fragments on the floor of the foyer in front of the victim. Some taser wires.
I didn't top it off. I was like, let's see if I can get this to cool off a little bit. Now we're going to top that sumbitch off, and we're able to drink the coffee.
Type color. So finding the white fragments and the wood fragments and the taser
there we
wires,
go.
were fairly
Good
easy.
morning.
It was very obvious that they were there. And then we were also looking for any additional blood stains that would be present away from the body that might be later on collected.
Okay, well, let's talk about these white objects that you believe would be easily identifiable on the carpet. You looked at the carpet between the body and the wall of the stairs, I take it. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in fact, you found some wood chips and some white particles that later turned out to be dental material in that area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you also found some on the stairs, kind of up, but in the same direction as to where the other ones were, correct?
Yes.
And did you look at the area that was between the carpet and the wall? In other words, like in the crack in that area, that particular area, for evidence?
I'm not sure which area you mean.
Okay, if the body was, well, let me get a picture here. What's the next in order?
Next in order will be 17.
Showing you on the overhead here, do you recognize this this scene here?
Yes, I do.
The 4 and the 5 is where the white objects of dental material were found, and some wood chips. Is that correct?
If I may refer to my report real quick.
Please do that.
Yeah, the number 5 is the area where the white pieces of material and wood fragments were found. Number 4 was in fact a deadbolt lock handle that had come off the deadbolt from that door.
Okay, so the 5 is the white objects that you talked about, and
That sounds awesome.
on the stairs, do you see this little item right here? Is that another piece of dental material?
Yes,
And then up out of the view of the picture was another piece that was collected. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay, so my question is, you found
Be safe out
evidence
there, Queen.
that you felt was important, 4 and 5. Did you search this area where this baseboard is between this pedestal and behind the door?
Thank you, Simi.
Search that particular
Appreciate
area?
that.
Yes.
How carefully did you look at that?
guys are
for,
awesome.
let's say, white objects that would have been visible to you?
Well, we would have looked just as closely as we would have when we found the white fragments. While we weren't on our hands and knees, opening the pile of the carpet, but we did have flashlights, and we looked carefully to see if there was anything obvious on that carpet.
Now, these little whitish
Shit. Looking through real quick. Gamby's coming through, sharing out the stream this morning. Thank you, Gamby's. Appreciate that.
objects that
Also
were
lets me know that I need to
ultimately
fix
turned
my
out portions of
thumbnail.
dental
It's got that
material.
dumb
They were
restream
smaller
thing
than my
on it.
thumbnail, were they not?
Yes.
Okay, they were maybe a tenth of the size of my thumbnail.
They were smaller than your thumbnail. I don't know the exact size.
Okay, and was there also a lot of whitish medical debris that was there from the paramedics, little white patches and things of that nature from putting on EKG pads and things of that nature?
Yes, sir.
Okay, was there, that's not something you were interested in as evidentiary material, is that correct?
That's correct.
And why was that?
I did that.
Well, we know the victim in this case was worked on by the paramedics, and going to crime scenes, you become aware of what paramedics usually use to try to revive a victim, and it was obvious that's what it was. So we didn't collect those items.
Little white patches and things of that nature that they used?
Yes.
Okay, now you would not have collected those and thrown them away, you would just left them in place or ignored them basically, correct?
Yes.
And with reference to this area where I'm pointing to now regarding the stairs, did you search this area, the stairs, and around this pedestal for white objects, debris, evidence of maybe that was related to the death?
We looked around the pedestal. We did not move the pedestal, however, to get a look what was under it. But what was obviously seen by your regular eye as you were walking around there is what we examined.
Okay. Now, there was a little defect here in the wall where there was some wood that was missing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that determined to relate to, if you could tell?
Well, we didn't do a wood analysis or try to determine how it happened, but common sense, we did find some wood fragments right in that area. So to me, it appeared it would have been pieces of wood from that defect that fell onto the carpet immediately in that area.
Okay, you collected all of that, is that correct?
Yes, the wood fragments.
That was a little harder to see, I take it, than the white objects, correct?
Jay in the house. What's up, dude?
Against the
Morning.
carpet.
And you searched in front of the stairs and up the stairs, on the banister, etc. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to show you next in order
18.
18, and the decedent was in a chair, and you can see her in the foreground right here. Is that correct?
Yes.
And item 6, do you know what that was from your records?
That was part of the taser hardware.
Okay.
That was on the carpet.
And near the decedent or under the decedent was a pool or several pools of blood. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I want to show
Not sure
you
what they might show here, guys.
This is, not sure if I get this down here.
Just be warned.
There we go.
Is that something you need marked?
I think I marked it.
18.
That's 18? All right.
Yeah,
so
this is
sure.
For this hearing, yeah.
for this hearing. Now,
You want to put that on the record, so the reporter?
yeah, for the record, we'll stipulate that Exhibit 18 are the pools of blood that were under the decedent at the death scene.
For purposes of this hearing,
For purposes of this hearing, right?
we'll join.
Now, do you remember seeing this pool of blood as the criminalist? Do you remember looking at that in general?
I observed the pool of blood, which was on the right side of the chair below where the victim was slumped. It was a large pool of blood, fairly thick. I did look at the pool of blood. However, I did not make an attempt to go through the clottings of the blood and sift through it with gloved hands to see if there are any items in there. I did not do that.
Okay, and at the time that, how long were you at the scene approximately, best you can recall?
The hell am I even seeing here? What's going on? Hold on. What is Gabby typing out here? I just seen the word Pornhub. I heard Pornhub was sued by Hamster X a while ago. The trial was long and hard, but ended in a hung jury. Holy shit. That's amazing, Gabby. Thank you so much for the $4.99 to say that also. That's awesome, baby. Passing the bucket around this morning. Yeah, we have a bucket here at Murder Church, is what we actually pass around for the donations. That's amazing. I haven't even heard the word Hamster X in probably a decade, honestly. I forgot about that one. Holy shit, that's an old school one. And probably still around, but Bonnie Bailey in the house giving out 5 as well. Passing the plate for Pastor Steve. That's right. Pass the bucket around, baby.
Give it a loop, give it a loop.
Love it. Thank you so much.
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
Morning, everybody. And yeah, Jay coming in here hot this morning as well. Thank you very much. Love it, guys. Yeah, maybe a Facebook thing will go as well. While I'm paused here for a second, yeah, Kaylin was asking why I'm not streaming on X. I think I just got mad. I may still do it. I was like, I just don't want it to feel like bullshit is what's killing me, because I was like, man, I didn't know one Murder Church and it was like over 1,000 people still watching live or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's fucking dope. And me and Dan started looking, and there's also somebody else that made a post that went into it a little bit deeper, which actually got the ball rolling. And I don't know if they count. I don't know how many seconds that your eyes have to be on that scrolling by, whatever it is, for that to count. What's weird is it looks like that there are that many actual viewers in real time, but I don't believe it after I've seen some of the crazy numbers that I get. Some of the other people's numbers make more sense. For me, there ain't no fucking way there's 1,000 people on X watching Murder Church. It's insanity. So that made me go, something's up here. Something's going on. Oh shit, Jay's gonna gift one out too. Carrie grabbed one. Yes, nice. Fuck yeah. Judge Bruce Willis is gonna tell you one more time.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Yeah, and I gave out 5 memberships earlier, guys. I still have 5 more to give away this month. You never know when that might happen, so make sure you're hanging out on streams when that goes down. But yeah, Jay, thank you very much. And Carrie, get the hell in here. And like I said, I'm going to be working with some people this month to get some cool stuff going. Hopefully I can get some specific member-only content rocking and rolling for you guys. Love you so much. Thank you, man.
Probably at least 7 to 8 hours on the first day. And then on the second day, probably maybe 4 to 6 hours.
And all the evidence that you felt had evidentiary value, was it collected at the scene as far as what you could find?
Yes.
Okay, and did you collect this blood stain that was under the deceased?
No.
And at the time, did you feel it had any evidentiary value?
No, I did not at the time.
Okay. It was pretty obvious that the victim bled on the carpet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you...
I love it when you just walk in the door and you get gifted a membership. Like, that's happened a few different times. Like, hey, what's going on? Oh, shit, she got one.
Clean the blood up before you left, or did you leave that to the owner of the residence?
Yeah, we don't clean up the blood after a crime scene. It's left to the owner of the house.
Can I suggest we focus again on the objects that are really in question here? I think get more directly to it.
Well,
Can we get a little bit more direct, for the love of freaking God?
For the first time yesterday, Mr. White said that he collected it. I don't know why he did that, but he says that's an issue.
All right.
I don't know why.
Briefly.
Thank you. Were there... Okay. Looking at, can we have this marked next in order?
19.
Looking at the top picture here. Why I can't get this in focus here.
I assumed it was my vision. I feel better.
How do you focus? It's getting worse.
It was refocus for writing.
Is there a button that does the focus?
Can we have the district attorney's expert?
Mr. Dixon's eyes.
Little April, welcome in here. It's been painful.
You just have to give it a minute.
Oh, you did a minute?
Yes.
Okay, we have to...
Don't move it
There it
around.
is. It's fine.
There it is.
This is the argument that never ends. It just goes on and on, my friends. We started with the Phil Spector trial about murder, but now we're watching stuff about teeth and fingernails. This is the trial that never ends. It is the argument that keeps giving on, my friends.
Okay.
Good work.
Now, you recognize the top photograph of Exhibit 19. I take it as this area that we've been discussing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to focus your attention on the non-carpeted portion of
Son
the
of a
stairs.
bitch, if I keep hitting the wrong button, I'm just gonna fight somebody right here.
Did you
Myself. There's no one else
look at
around.
that non-carpeted portion for evidence?
Yes.
Okay. Did you find any evidence there?
I did not collect any evidence in that area.
Okay, and to the extent there was evidence that you felt was of evidentiary value, did you collect it?
No, if I understand your question, if I felt if I saw something that had evidentiary value, I would have collected it.
That was my question. I maybe inartfully asked it. I apologize. Now, did you collect any evidence from this, I call it the molding, down by the molding, either blood or blood spots or anything like that? Did you make any attempt to collect anything in that area?
No.
Okay. Did you see any blood in that area?
I did not see any blood in that area that would have been, in my mind, of evidentiary
Y'all didn't know I
value
could sing.
based on what I would have already seen, documented, and collected.
Okay, I'm trying to understand what you mean by that. Could there have been blood there, but you just didn't think it was significant, or was there no blood there? Is that what you're saying?
That's right. There could have been a blood stain or an area that had blood, but based on the items where I had already collected and tested with our presumptive blood test, I did not feel it was additional item that would lead or...
Correct me if I'm wrong. We're episode 6, and we've only had one actual witness. The former girlfriend of Phil Spector that testified.
Have evidentially.
Am I wrong?
I see. Okay, so like if you see a stain like on the stairs somewhere, and there's 10 stains, you may test a couple of them collected, but you don't collect every one. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so you basically sort of, you collect enough to answer whatever question there might be as to the blood stain, and then you leave the rest because it's redundant essentially.
That's a possibility, yes.
Okay, and with reference to the wall on the stairs, did you look at that for blood and collect any blood, if you can recall?
Yes, I looked very closely at that wall. In fact, that was one of the reasons we went back, myself and other individuals, the second day, to try to determine if there could have been other blood stains that we did not see on the first day that may have evidentiary value. And if we did recognize those on the second day, then obviously they would have been documented and collected.
Okay, so for example, on the stairs, let me lay a foundation. You went back the second day and you essentially sprayed a chemical known as luminol to see if you could identify any blood stains that you weren't able to observe the first day, correct?
Ron, at this point, I'm going to check with them here that any discussion about luminol or blood stains.
The only reason I see it as being relevant, excuse me for interrupting, is, again, it goes to Ms. Kaplan's testimony, and it's not that anyone's claiming that she's not being truthful. It goes to credibility. She said she saw certain observations that she had people look at, and the question is whether this witness also observed them. In trying to establish an overall picture, it is useful to me.
Okay. My question was, you went back to the scene after you had searched it and done your visual examination, and when you did your first search, you actually had alternative light sources that you used, correct?
No. With the first search, it was a visual search, and then we also had flashlights to assist us. I don't believe we had an alternate light source, or at least I didn't, for finding evidence.
Okay, how many people searched in this area between where the decedent's body was, which was right here where I'm pointing, in this area, from the door to the end of the stairs? How many people were looking for evidence in that general area, other than yourself, if you know?
Objection big is the time, which day?
To that extent, I'll sustain the objection if you want to break it down by day.
Okay, when did you get to the scene approximately? What time?
I believe it was around 1400, 2 o'clock.
And
That's a good question. Are they? It's been so long. Are they at the house and they're just going to call them back because this is going to take so freaking long, or are they just in another room? Just what's happening? What is going on out there
during the daylight hours?
Why is this taking days?
And you stayed there initially for how long?
Again, I think it was the first day anywhere from 7 to 8 hours.
Okay, and then you came back a second time with some other individuals, is that correct?
Yes.
And what did you do the first time? Did you search that area along with other people, or did you do it by yourself?
I know myself and Robert Kyle would have searched that area. I'm not sure of how many more people.
And the detectives were involved in looking at this area too before you got
I
there?
like big faces and I cannot lie.
After you got there?
Or I'd call for speculation before, when he wasn't there.
I'll withdraw. Mr. Kyle is a criminalist trained similar to yourself, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. And did you look for any blood stains on any areas of the stairs or the walls of the stairs?
Yes.
Okay. Did you found some blood stains, a blood smear on the banister, stair banister, is that true?
That's correct.
Collected that. Did you see any blood stains on any of the carpeting portions of the stairs?
No.
Would it have been hard to see that or easy to see that from what you could tell?
It would have been difficult, depending on how much blood was there, again, because of color of the carpet. There were some areas, even on the first day, I believe, that maybe were a little darker than the regular color of the carpet that I tested with our presumptive blood tests. But any of those areas that I did test came up negative. And then the second day with the chemical you've discussed already, there were no additional areas that I felt had evidentiary value for collection.
Okay,
We need
and
the
that was
wigs.
with the luminol, and you did the carpeting.
What? Is Phil Spector also like the jury? Like, we don't need Spector. No one gets Spector in here. I want to look at the freaking
Is
wigs.
that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you did all the carpeting. Well, did you do the carpeting?
Great
with the foyer
minds.
Also.
Yes, one of the main reasons we did the luminol was to see if there were any blood stains, blood spatters that we could not see that would be directly in front of the victim in that carpeted area. So that was the main reason of doing the luminol.
And would this luminol be able to detect small spatters?
Yes.
Did you find any blood spatters on the wall, or did you test luminol the wall?
I did not see any stains that, based on my experience visually, that looked like blood, where I would have tested them even before the luminol with our presumptive blood test, which we call, in short, KM test.
Castlemeyer?
Castlemeyer, that's correct. And the luminol examination, if we're talking specifically about that vertical wall, which is all wood panel on the lower part of the stairs, no area gave a positive luminol reaction.
Okay. And how about the stairs themselves, the wood area of the stairs?
That, again, I did the carpeted area. I am not sure
I'm
if
not
there
sure,
was
honestly,
any
Kaya.
stain or any area
Kaya.
directly underneath that handrail.
I'm hoping soon here. Let me see if I go down this, and you can kind of tell by, this is video 19. I said 20 earlier, I think. Sergeant Chris Russ next. Probably just another one of these situations. Here he comes. No, 21. We've got a wig. We have Spector returning, baby. Okay, so hopefully, let's see how much further. I know this video's like an hour or so. I'm not sure how much the next one is, but we are close to getting some Spector back in here, baby.
Of the stain that I had already
It's coming.
collected. I don't recall if there was or if there wasn't. If there was a stain directly below that handrail.
It only looks like
I may
Satan
have
lives
not-
here. I want everything to be
I may
blood
have
red.
not- or made the decision that that was not of any evidentiary value because it would have been directly below the stains that I had already collected. And what I was looking for, again, is additional stains in any other area where I knew I had already looked and didn't find blood in the first evening of the exam.
Okay, so just to kind of wrap up and summarize to make sure I understand your testimony, when you did the luminol, were you looking for blood to determine, like, let's say if the body had been moved or something like that, or for whatever reason?
Yeah, the luminol test is very, it's useful at times, not at every scene, but it helps us determine if there was any smears of blood, especially with this type of color of carpet that you just couldn't see.
Hell yeah, welcome
with
in
the
here, Not Your
light.
Edits.
Any light smears.
Anybody jumping over here from J-Stream that just happened, welcome in here. Yeah, we have Alan Jackson from the Karen Reed trial. He is the prosecutor in this insane Hollywood murder trial from 2007 with Phil Spector.
And
Get
for
in here.
example, if there was dragging, luminol is very helpful in picking that up. Basically,
Hit
anything
the
you
sub.
can't
Sub
see
up
with a
also,
regular
and the like.
flashlight,
Welcome in, folks.
Your regular eyes, even during the day, luminol is useful for it, and that's what it was used in this case.
Okay, so even if it's not visible to the naked eye, if somebody that was bloody was maybe dragged across a carpet, you couldn't see anything, the luminol might illuminate that and alert you to that area, correct?
Yes, in that scenario, if there was blood that was smeared lightly across, even though we wouldn't see it with our eyes, and if it was still there, the luminol should detect that and give us a positive reaction.
Okay, and now this wall that was on the stairs,
Hope
did you
ain't fear in the house.
Did you do any KM testing?
Love
of
it.
Any spots on that proved to be negative?
No, again, a visual exam was done first, and I did not see any spots on that vertical wall that gave me an indication that it could be blood, and therefore no KM test was performed before the luminol.
Essentially, the protocol and the scientific procedure that criminalists like yourself follow, that if you see a a stain that you suspect is potentially blood, you do this KM testing, and if it turns out to be positive, then that gives you the possible conclusion that it is blood, and you collect it, correct?
That's correct. If we believe that stain has additional evidentiary value from what we have already collected, we may not collect it. I'm sorry, if it does have value, we would collect it. If it doesn't add to the evidentiary value of stains we already collected, we may not collect it. But you're correct, we would do a KM test, and if it did have value, we would document it and collect it.
Okay, and the chemical in the Kastle-Meyer test is phenolphthalein?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and if you could tell the court, does it have a sensitivity of anywhere from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 100,000 dilution of blood to, in other words, it can detect extraordinarily sensitive deposits of blood that are not visible even to the naked eye?
Yes, it's very sensitive. The phenolphthalein or KM reagent that we make in our lab usually gives us a sensitivity anywhere from 1 to 1,000 to 1 to 10,000 and sometimes even further out. So you are correct in saying you could have an area that might be positive KM that you wouldn't be able to detect it visually just by looking at it.
And once you get a positive KM result, that is what's called a presumptive blood result. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you would want to take it further to get more information, doing additional scientific tests if you chose to do that, correct?
Correct.
Did you, when you did the luminol, did you see any areas around the body that fluoresced?
The only area that fluoresced around the body was the pool of blood that was left at the scene.
Yeah, some people coming in here from Jay's stream that just ended. He was doing a Karen Reed, doing some testimony there. If you're just coming in and you are currently watching the Karen Reed trial, you're going to enjoy this. The prosecutor in this one that we're watching here on Murder Church, this is from 2007, is Alan Jackson, okay? The defense attorney in the Karen Reed trial is the prosecutor in this trial. So it's super interesting. It's an insane trial also. Phil Spector, Hollywood music mogul, guy that produced music for the Beatles, for the Ramones, murdered a Hollywood actress who was, down on her luck, and he is currently on trial. Again, the prosecutor is Alan fucking Jackson. Welcome in here, guys. Sub up, hit the like, get this thing moving. Thanks, Jay. Love you, dude.
Did you see any area on any of the steps, the wooden portion of the steps? Did you see any area fluoresce with the luminol?
I did not see any additional areas that would have added
Yo, Joe, what's up, brother?
Value from the stains I had already collected.
Okay.
Welcome in, everybody.
Just so I
Thank you.
understand, would that mean that you did see areas that fluoresced, but that you had already been alerted to them based upon your previous investigation?
Yes.
Okay, so did you see, for example, the banister where you had collected the blood, did you get some fluorescence from that banister area?
The only area that gave a positive fluorescence with the luminol was that very bottom portion of the banister where one would put their hand, let's say, to pull up and come up on the steps.
Okay, would that be the area I'm pointing to now?
Yes, sir. There was a fairly large smear of blood on top of that rail that actually was discontinuous as far as the density of blood that was on it, and it actually almost kind of dripped over the edge of that banister. And that item I think we identified as number 9. Now that gave a positive KM reaction the first day, and I had collected, documented, photographed, collected. I also sprayed, as far as the banister is concerned, the entire length all the way up to the first landing and across to the second set of stairs. I didn't go above that, however.
And was that because you weren't getting any luminescence?
Oh, shit, and Jay gonna come in hot again, gifting out another membership. Semi Sharp grabbing that son of a bitch. Get that thing. Hell yeah. And the judge in this also looks exactly like Bruce Willis. Like his face, it looks like a face swap has literally been done, just like we do on these websites now. And the judge is somehow Bruce Willis. Get the hell in here. Thanks, Jay, dude. Appreciate that, man. That's awesome as hell. And anytime we get new members here, we give out the beers in the chat, the coffee, the liquor drinks, the probably nothings. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging out. Appreciate it.
That's right. The only part of that banister that gave a positive luminescence was...
Right now,
item
currently
9.
on the stand is L.A. County Sheriff's criminalist Steve Renteria takes the stand outside the presence of the jury. We are a little bit into this. We're 6 episodes into the Phil Spector trial right now, but it is a long trial. This is the creepy-looking little son of a bitch right here, Phil Spector, who is the murderer. I mean, he is allegedly at this point in time, but come on.
Which was the blood stain that was on the very lower end.
And how about the stairs?
Debbie,
themselves?
welcome in here.
Did you spray the stairs with luminol?
Yes, I sprayed the first landing that you see in that photo up at the top middle, and then every step on the way down, all the way to the floor of the foyer.
Did you get any luminescence on any step?
No.
Did you spray this wall over here? I don't know what you call that, to the right here in this direction.
Yeah, that would be, I would call that the west wall of that stairway.
Okay.
The process of spraying stairs, it's almost like using a spray gun.
Oh my God, yeah,
to
that's
paint
true.
a house.
Yeah, Linda Kinney Bodden is one of the defense attorneys, which Phil Spector has like 10 defense attorneys, but she is one of them.
To paint a car. The only areas that would have sprayed on that wall would have been just lapping up as I went from stair to stair.
Okay.
You know, maybe anywhere from 2 to 3 feet above each step. But I didn't purposely spray that entire wall. One of the reasons, it was a pretty white, bright white colored wall, and given the scenario of this particular crime scene, if there would have been any spots of blood, you know, on that wall, in my opinion, it would have been fairly obvious even with the naked eye.
In other words, because it was a white wall and the specks of blood would have been pretty obvious and noticeable, correct?
That's right.
Now the carpeting goes up to what's called...
This is true also. Yeah, we haven't been in the presence of the jury for 3 weeks now by the episodes, at least here. On Sundays, we do this every single Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We go to about 12:30-ish. Sometimes we'll go into 1. So, but yeah, like Sarah said there, currently we're inside of a trial inside of a trial because we're basically trying to figure out outside of the presence of the jury if the defense team hid or destroyed evidence. Okay. Apparently after the fact, after the crime scene was supposed to have already been basically cleaned up, they found a tooth, allegedly. And it's been interesting. It's a lot.
Did you luminol this whole
Hopefully we'll get back on track here soon. It looks like we are going to have Phil Spector. And Phil Spector is the master of wigs. Anybody that's not ready, if you Google Phil Spector, this man had a skullet, okay? And he rocked the hell out of weird wigs that are extremely expensive and look amazing, quite frankly.
Wall itself, just like you did on the white wall?
Well, I did the whole carpeted area. I didn't move any.
Yeah,
of the
it's a whole
furniture
thing.
items that you see in that
Makes it
photo.
even deeper there.
But as far as lapping up the wall, I did again spray the entire wood surface, the vertical wood surface that was adjacent to those stairs.
What do you call that wall? East wall, west wall?
Well, it is east of the stairway. I think I called them in my notes the vertical wood paneled stairway wall.
Did you see any dripping blood on the porch area, or did you look at that area?
I didn't look in that area.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge and ability, did you collect all of the evidence of evidentiary value at that scene that you processed between both of your visits that you made to that area?
Based on what I could observe, yes.
Okay. Were there items on the carpet that were of not evidentiary value, debris, threads, things of that nature?
Debris and...
Well, were there like threads and fibers and objects that were not of evidentiary value that were in that foyer area, if you know?
There could have been.
Okay. Now, I want to now focus on the fingernails of the decedent, Lana Clarkson. Part of your duties is to do a detailed examination of fingernail scrapings and things of that nature. Is that correct?
That's correct, for the purposes of finding biological fluids. That's
okay.
Correct.
And were the fingernails of Lana Clarkson collected, or fingernail scrapings collected by a criminalist from the coroner's department to your knowledge?
Yes.
And did you later get that, those fingernail scrapings and items and
What's up,
subject
Bronze?
them to
Welcome
some
in
type
here.
of an analysis?
Yes.
Was the right thumb fingernail, was the entire nail actually extracted or taken off for later analysis?
A sample was received from the right thumb from the coroner's office. I
Morning.
took a swabbing, basically using a sterile, like a Q-tip swab, and putting sterile water on it. And I had swabbed the edges of what I had demonstrated or called in my notes, the clippings of the right thumb. That would have been like a moon shape type if you were just clipping your nails off. And also,
Rachel,
there was
get
a
the hell in
larger,
here. Good morning.
apparent acrylic portion that I did not analyze. There was a smaller portion that also looked acrylic, so a total of 3 pieces, that I did swab along with the clipping. And that's the areas that I swab as far as the right thumb clippings are concerned.
Okay, well, let me ask you sort of a general question when it comes to fingernail clippings and swabs. You're looking for trace evidence, is that correct?
Well, if it comes to the DNA section, our main focus is for any foreign biological material, be it skin material, possibly if somebody scratched somebody. That's the purpose as it comes to the DNA section.
Okay, and would you be looking for tissue?
Correct. That tissue, skin, same thing.
And
I think we're going way beyond what I indicated I wanted to hear from him.
let's
which is, did he search the scene, and what did he find? And I have a couple of questions depending upon what counsel does, and that was it.
okay. Well, I'd like to at least ask about his testing of the right thumb.
No, you might like to, but I've indicated what I'm interested in, what is, to me, pertinent in this hearing.
May I make a brief offer of proof? Just
Yes,
for the record?
yes,
Thank
you may.
That he did the testing of the right thumb and basically got no DNA other than Lana Clarkson's DNA off of that nail.
If it becomes important, I'm sure we can stipulate to it, or counsel can stipulate to it if it's not in question.
And he also did presumptive blood testing of the nail.
That's not what I want to hear about. I've indicated what I thought his relevancy was to this hearing.
That's my offer of proof.
Thank you for the offer of proof. The objection is sustained.
Thank you.
All right.
With that, I have no further questions.
People?
I think we have just one here.
All right.
Your Honor, I don't think we have any inquiry at this point.
If any counsel can help me, can you, and I was looking through the transcript, but since I'm trying to listen to the testimony, it's difficult. Where Ms. Kaplan indicated she saw the object that Dr. Lee put in the vial.
My understanding of her testimony was that she said between the, actually no, Ms. Kaplan said she could not remember.
Okay.
It was Mr. Diamond who was specific. Ms. Kaplan said, I have no idea. She said we were in someplace in the foyer area.
That's correct. It was Mr. Diamond who put it between the pedestal and I believe the number 4. Ms. Kaplan said she wasn't. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe she said she saw it on the carpet, though, and it was about the size of a thumb.
I'm about to get there. We had a witness testify that she observed an object that was the size of a thumbnail. It was flat with irregular edges. This may be a question you can or cannot answer. Do you think you would have observed that in your examination?
Well, Your Honor, as you described it, I would have to say if it was just lying on the top of the carpet, that I would have observed that.
Could it have been somewhere else where you would not have? I mean, if it was, could it be wedged somewhere that you might not have seen it?
That's possible.
I love it, Bo.
Okay.
That's one of the coolest comments I've ever seen. Publicly Buzzed, I love your personality. You don't know us personally, but make us feel like we're old friends. Thank you. No, you both, I love that. That's freaking awesome, man.
I have nothing further.
Yeah, would it be
So
more
cool.
likely that if it was a whitish object, you would have seen it given the nature of the carpet?
It's impossible. Has anybody seen? Look at it. It's hard to see right there, but if you get a close up on this judge, he looks like Bruce Willis, and it's amazing.
Again, if it was lying on the carpet, not wedged anywhere, behind a particular item, and if it was white, absolutely. I think that would have been an obvious
Has to be a long
observation
lost
that would
brother.
have been collected.
I feel like these two were separated at birth.
Okay, I have enough.
Okay, thank you. Anything further?
Just one question.
Oh shit, did he? Did I miss a hold up? Oh god.
Hold up! Hold up! Hold
Some of my favorite sound bites.
You did not, I think you told us you did not move the pedestal or look underneath the pedestal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything?
That's it, Chris.
So all right, if we're done with this witness, I think you can strap on your gun, jump in your Hummer, and go interrogate some suspects. Okay? All right.
See you soon.
All right. I mean, that is what you do, right?
We actually have an old pen and van and,
Oh, okay.
and no guns, just flashlight.
I'm shocked. All right.
It is a day off. We can get about 2 minutes.
Yeah. I needed that at the end of a long week. Anything else we can do on this? We've got about 15 minutes before I have to go to my next hearing.
The only thing I would do is ask the court to take notice of one thing, as an offer of proof. I think the defense has indicated that, I'm sorry, I'm about to use that, has indicated that Dr. Lee, in our requests...
We have some, yes, right, okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Judge?
Go ahead, I'm sorry, there were some things, yes, there's some things I want to bring up as well.
Okay, Dr. Lee, according to the defense offer of proof about what Dr. Lee has or hasn't said, and keep in mind, we have not extensively interviewed Dr. Lee. He's not been available to us, notwithstanding requests by the people to do exactly that, to interview him. He's not been made available to us. My understanding of what Dr. Lee has said, based on the defense offer of proof, is he didn't find a nail. There was nothing nail-like that he found or recovered, that he found a white thread or fiber that somebody must have mistaken for a nail. Somebody must have mistaken for a white object. Somebody must have mistaken for this thing that kind of was hanging around out there that the people kept seeking evidence about. So when that was made available to us, we turned around and said, well, then give us the thread, this white thread that could have been mistaken for a nail.
I'm going to object. That's not what Dr. Lee is saying.
Wait a second, you'll have a chance to respond. He's making a motion or making a request to the court. When he's done, you're going to get a chance to respond.
Yeah, and that's...
Let the man talk. Look at him! Tell me this is not Bruce Willis playing this judge, all right? Like, he's lost some weight for the role, had to shave his head. He went, even before he shaved his head, I believe, about 2007. I think this is pre-Bruce Willis with a shaved head. Bruce Willis saw this judge and said, you know what? I could rock that look because this judge can rock that look, and he looks identical to me. That's what happened.
A second ago, Mr. Flord stood up and said it was a white
Tell me I'm wrong.
white fiber, unless I misunderstood him. And that offer of proof came from Dr. Lee. We then made several requests about what that thread is. Give us the thread then. We received a packet with 2 items of purported evidence in it. One, they were both in
I do like this
notes.
judge a lot, Bo.
One was supposedly a blood stain that was recovered literally in a Post-it note.
And you're putting this up on the screen.
I am, and I should go ahead and mark this as a
Next in order would be 20.
I'll place a court's 20 on the back.
Judge Diehard. There you go. Semi-sharp coming through. I've been calling him Judge Bruce Willis. Judge Diehard.
As you'll see, Your Honor, are a mirror image. That's just because it was put on a scanner, and that's a mirror image of what we're looking at. The original photograph, obviously, is the correct way. So that's one of the items. And the white thread-like object is that. So that's what we received from Dr. Lee, and at this point, we've received nothing else. And
Yes, that should be 21.
So the claim from the defense that we've received from Dr. Lee, the 2 items of evidence that he recovered at the scene, that's these 2 items, unless I'm mistaken about something, and it can be cleared up right now. And these are the 2 photographs that...
Oh my God, that's exhibit. Let me find this judge.
These are our photographs, in other words, that I submitted to
Good
Mr.
call.
Ford after we received these items from Dr. Lee.
And I can't type Judge Bruce Willis, so hold on.
These are pictures of the way these items are now. There were recent photographs of them. Dr. Lee photographed them at the time he collected them. He will testify about his photographs and what he collected, how it was packaged. He's got a picture of the packaging and so forth. And Dr. Lee...
Well, I found him with a mustache. It does change him a little bit. And he looks older. He's looking older here. This is probably a newer picture, I'm guessing. Right here. Here he's still looking like Bruce Willis. These are some good photos, too. Right here, looking a little different with the stash. Rocking that stash, though. Tell me I'm wrong. Rocking that stash. Creepy ass Phil Spector. Here's a nice shot of Alan Jackson doing the damn thing. I feel like he should have an updated photo though. No, not there. There he is. He was looking a little bit different. There he's got hair. Interesting. It's a chameleon.
Said that these threads were bloodstained. In other words, they may have been white, but they have blood on them and so forth. And I believe they were collected around the area where this pool of blood was. I don't want to speak for Dr. Lee. That's my understanding. And then the blood stain was on the stairs, one of the stairs. I can't remember which one it was, but it's in his notes that he tested, did a Kastle-Meyer test and collected that item and packaged it, and that's one of the two. And it looks like it's broken up now, but it looked like it was all together when Dr. Lee collected it, because we have a picture from Dr. Lee's photograph, and I'm surmising it was scraped up and then it's kind of busted apart. Dr. Lee specifically has said he did not collect any nail material or nail-like material. And those are the only two items that he collected. He did make other observations of items that he noted at the scene, but he puts in his notes, saw this but did not collect. In other words, there's things that he may have looked at that he didn't collect, or, I would assume, and I'm just surmising, the same as this criminalist, there's certain things he may
It wasn't the
have
best
looked at.
picture, but like I found, I'd have to go find it again, but hold on. But you could tell that he had hair in it.
For example, he looked at this blood pool. He said he didn't see any reason to collect anything from that.
Gotta be some better
other than
pictures
the
here.
fibers that were identified in his notes. Dr. Lee's not trying to say that Ms. Kaplan is or is not.
Well, we're going to hear from Dr. Lee.
Right.
It's real simple, because right now your description, and I'm not saying there's a long ways to go, and I have to wait till I hear everything, but what you've just,
Here we go.
what I've just,
There's a side view with him with the hair. He looks way better bald. He chose correctly. Let's just say that. Yeah, he made the right move there. Going
seen,
full
and
bald.
I understand it may have been,
Some people can rock
tested
that
or
look,
whatever,
too.
But the items that were contained in courts 20 and 21.
Some people's heads are not
not
shaped
consistent
properly.
with
He's
what
got a
Ms. Kaplan
nice
testified
round
to.
head.
She
It's
testified
not
to a flat object,
not
the size of the
strangely
nail with irregular edges.
elongated or
That's not
wide.
And I don't know what the discrepancy is. I do know that
Or
Dr.
more of an
Lee was
oval.
satisfied He collected these two items, and only these two items.
All right. Well,
And I do not know with reference to Mr. White, and I see three separate events here. You have the diamond issue, the tooth.
Yes.
That's separate than the White issue, I think.
yes, maybe.
And then you have the Sarah Kaplan issue. I see three separate.
Quite possibly, there are three independent, separate issues.
Right. Now,
That's
I
correct.
think the evidence will bear out that the White issue is really this blood that's a clump of blood, and we think maybe some tissue, meaning human tissue, all kind of clumped in together. I'm not certain of that, but that's my view of the evidence. And then, but we'll wait to hear from Dr. Lee and the analysis of that material. It's being looked at by the sheriff, and we want to look at it because we've never tested it. We've never looked at it. We'd like to test it to see if
And I hate to keep pausing here, but I have always said if I ever start to go hardcore bald, like that style of bald, I'm going to ride with it, and I'm going to go full George Costanza, baby. I'm going full George Costanza.
Lana Clarkson's blood, etc. And the court has Dr. Lee's notes. It's in the motion materials.
All right.
From the scene, and they document what Dr. Lee did at the scene as far as what he looked at, what he collected, and I believe the only thing I asked Dr. Lee, do you remember anything other than your notes and your photographs? No. Did you collect anything other than he always documents it in his notes? That's what these.
Well, let's wait and see till he comes in. In the meantime, the people, we had talked about some orders, Ray Discovery and Dr. Lee. Specifically, what do you want me to order?
Your Honor, I would ask that the court order immediately that Dr. Lee's original notes, the original documents on which
He is indeed still a judge in Los Angeles County, and his current term ends January 8th, 2029.
wrote his crime scene notes be made available to the people. I assume, I'm just guessing, but I'm assuming they may be in Connecticut. Even if Dr. Lee is out of town, those notes could be compiled. I have a copy of them.
Well, I'm not so sure I would order that without Dr. Lee approving and sending them. He has a right to his his work product to be sent to me, but to say, you're not there, let somebody else gather it.
I have no problem if the court orders that those original notes be sent to the court. I'm not trying to...
What I'm saying is, even in the gathering, I think if he's out of the country, if I were a doctor and I had notes and a court ordered me, I'd say, fine, I'm going to comply, of course, but I'm not there as soon as I get there, as long as it was within a reasonable time.
Okay.
I'll have those forwarded to you.
Then I guess that brings me to my next point, which is I would ask the court to order the defense, in as much as this court has indicated that its powers are not unlimited, which was news to me.
It's the first thing, it's the first sad discovery you make as a judge.
Well, that having been
The
said,
second is your paycheck, right?
whatever either order the court could levy, or maybe just an accommodation for the defense, and we all get along, and I would ask the defense just as an accommodation to see if maybe they could get a hold of Dr. Lee, and if the court could extend an order that the defense try to make Dr. Lee available at the soonest possible time. The wheels of justice are still spinning, and we're starting with evidence on Monday, and obviously we would like to get this issue resolved. So that's the second order, in as much as the court can do.
I think what I can do is make a request, and I'm
Sure.
going to request the defense that if you can contact Dr. Lee, we want to get his original notes, we want to arrange his testimony at the earliest possible time, and even if we have to, if he's coming in on a day when we have jurors in, if we have to, dismiss the jury for a period of time, it probably would be worthwhile.
And before you speak.
Yeah, everybody, welcome to Hogs. We'll be serving you here tonight. What would you like? What can we get you started with here this evening? We're going to have apps? We're going to have drinks?
For that, Mr. Plord, I have a third. This probably goes along the same lines, I'm assuming, as the original notes. Dr. Lee, I think I mentioned this morning, supplied us with 55 photographs. I suspect, based on my review of those photographs in digital form, that some of those at least were negatives, or 35 millimeter. I would ask for the negatives. If any of them were digital, I would ask for the original format to be made available to us. Obviously, non-destructive. We're not going to do anything destructive to any of them, but we need to see the originals.
Okay. Does anybody wish to be heard?
Yeah, briefly, Ms. Kenny and I are, Dr. Lee, we've already made inquiries to try to get in here as soon as practical when he gets back. And one of the questions that we were going to ask today is whether or not we were limited to Fridays.
No.
And okay, that's good, because we were going to have problems. We talked to one of his assistants, and we got a hold of his schedule, and we're going to try to do that. So based upon the court's representations, we will try to get him here as soon as practical, whether it's a Friday or not. And then my only hope is that we can get him, once we get him here, we can have him testify, get him done, and then get him on his way to wherever he's going to go.
The only proviso I would make, the one day I'm not going to be available is the 17th of May.
Because I'm making a movie. He's going to be making a movie.
So
It's all coming out.
Okay.
Next Tuesday.
Well, too, but we're available.
What movie would Bruce Willis make in 2007? It's all coming
I'm going to
together.
talk about next Tuesday because we know that a juror has a pre-existing appointment, but we have time, and we have other discovery issues to face. And I'd like to deal with the rest of the people's motion, or the thrust of the people's motion, which is this failure to turn over various materials outside of the ones we're talking about, and potential sanctions or exclusions. I'd like to take that up on Tuesday since we're going to have a day free.
Some weird Die Hard sequel from 2007 I've never even heard of called Live Free or Die Hard. John McClane and a young hacker join forces to take down master cyber terrorist Thomas Gabriel in Washington, D.C. Never seen or heard of that one. What the hell?
And with regard to the request regarding notes, photographs, etc., negatives, our position, and we were being very cooperative. I was trying to cooperate with the DA that was handling discovery, and I'm trying to give him stuff as we get it, because there's a lot of stuff that's coming in as we speak. And the other DA is trying to do the same. Things are kind of going back and forth. There were some things that were missed that we're, catching up on, etc. There was a request for the original notes, and we were talking about that. They were wanting to go back and look at Dr. Lee's notes in Connecticut. I told them that, legally, unless ordered by the court, we're not obligated to give them the original notes, and I didn't know whether Dr. Lee would have a problem with that, turning over his original work product or not. The same with the negatives and so forth. Then they filed the discovery motion and are asking to impose sanctions and so forth for other alleged violations. So my position is very clear with them and with the court that But we will comply as best we can with the discovery statutes and any order the court makes.
Okay.
And we'll leave it at that.
All right, here, I can help you. Without making any final decision, without getting into a lengthy discussion, I've done a lot of research. There are very few, if any, published cases concerning photographs of expert witnesses from the defense. However, and I realize unpublished cases cannot be cited, but there are more than a few that have indicated, including a couple from this district, not that that makes a difference, only, in fact, it makes no difference whatsoever. But the bottom line is that if an expert relies on photographs, is planning to use photographs, well, if they're going to use the photographs, clearly they're discoverable.
We agree.
By analogy, there are certainly cases published and otherwise that would indicate if an expert is using any item to form an opinion,
Kraken.
to
Welcome in here.
testify that those are discoverable. And as far as production is concerned, whether they're admissible at the time in front of the jury is another story. I'm going to order that Dr. Lee produce his original notes, his original photographic material, or whatever the medium was, and when he comes to court, he's to bring those with him. And we'll worry about it at that time, but he's to have them in his possession.
Yeah, typically he does, Your Honor. I'm not quarreling with that. This was making them available to them, sending them to them.
I'll make that decision. I think the best
Mother
way to
of
do
God,
it is
that'd be
bring it in.
amazing, Drew.
We'll have a discussion. We'll argue it as appropriate. I'll make a ruling, whatever it is, and then we'll decide how to do it from there.
Very good. And I would indicate to the court that one of Mr. Lee's assistants at his direction did give him digital copies of all the photographs.
They're saying they're having a problem with the copies. The bottom line is, it doesn't hurt, unless you show me otherwise, bring the originals with you, and I'll work on it from there.
That's fine.
Okay?
That's what.
Okay, so we'll plan on working next Tuesday, even though the jury won't be here, and for the discovery issues. And you have my request concerning the other issues, and I'll see you 9:30 on Monday morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We have another witness also, Dr. Harold.
Today?
No, for Tuesday.
Bring Dr. Harold in.
Thank you.
We're going to be here. We have a whole day.
That's what we plan.
Okay.
Rock and roll. We're going to keep moving here. What do we got next? We got an hour 14. Sergeant Chris Russ. Pasadena Police Sergeant Chris Russ takes the stand. It doesn't say outside of the presence of the jury. Are we back on freaking track?
Present with his counsel, including Mr. Cutler. You're feeling better?
Yes, sir.
What did he say?
You're ordered to stay well.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
This court is now in session.
It's a new day, too.
Paul Fiddler, judge presiding.
All right, the record will reflect defendant is present with his counsel, including Mr. Cutler. You're feeling better?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're ordered to stay well.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. The district attorneys.
And Cutler, who is the defense attorney for John Gotti, who represents Phil Spector in this one, he's been out basically since the first episode with some kind of medical issue. We've had other defense attorneys of Phil Spector try to do the same thing. We have doctor's appointments trying to postpone. This has been a wild, weird
The jurors
trial.
and the alternates are not present. We have some matters to deal with briefly before we proceed with
Afton, good
testimony.
morning. Welcome in here.
One would be on Friday night, I received a communication from our public information officer who had been contacted by counsel for the Los Angeles Times, and then I was faxed the letter that they were trying to fax me, and they couldn't get to me before I left on Friday, indicating that a freelance writer for the Times had made
He's
contact,
very drama-filled.
albeit apparently telephonic.
We
and
want
email
wigs.
contact
We want
with,
wigs.
juror
We
number
want
6.
wigs.
They had a pre-existing, when I say relationship, I mean just a business relationship. She's an entertainment writer.
There he is.
freelance
He's returned. Phil Spector is back, finally.
and he is in the entertainment business, as we all know. And she was making an inquiry concerning
We
whether
want wigs.
jury service would impact his company's business. Now, the Times, through counsel, became concerned because obviously this was contact with a juror, and they indicate that when they became aware of this exchange of information, they told the freelancer not to communicate further with the juror. I had a conference call then, which I arranged through the district attorney's office, between Mr. Dixon, Mr. Jackson, and Mr. Rosen. And Mr. Rosen was aware of this. He had apparently been given a copy of the letter, and we discussed it, and our only concern was to find out indeed if it impacted the trial at all. It didn't appear that it had. It appears to be what it shouldn't have happened. It doesn't appear to have had a major impact. I did receive this note because the juror did inform us what had happened, and I'll read you his letter, and then I'm going to bring him out and just make sure that he feels he can continue to be fair and impartial concerning this matter. From juror number 6, I had contact with an entertainment journalist from the LA Times calendar section related to the trial. The journalist is someone I have ongoing contact with, so a dialogue is common. However, she asked if my jury service would conflict with my ability
Everybody's
to
wondering what black pudding is in the chat. Hold on.
Supporting our summer movie releases.
Black pudding. This isn't even the first time we've looked that up on this
respond
channel.
to her inquiry
This is
related
black
to jury
pudding.
service by email. I left a voicemail informing her that my job will not
Here's
be
a
impacted.
traditional
and that we have
English
significant
breakfast.
programs in place to support our releases.
This looks pretty damn
We
good.
did include what the
Got the
releases
mushrooms
are.
there,
I
but the
don't see
black
any
pudding
reason
looks
to
like
give them free
sausage, and
publicity.
I'm not eating
They
that.
don't need it. Naming the two movies.
Look,
I
we got
guess
a
that he's
hog on there,
working
though.
on. So what I propose to do, unless somebody has an objection, is to bring juror number 6 out, simply ask him if anything else happened other than what appears in his letter to me, which I have just read to you, because there's nothing inconsistent with that and what the letter from the Times Council to me, which you all have. So unless somebody else has some other concern, if you want to ask any questions, you may, and I'm hopeful that we can then move along. I was also, and I want to check, one of the jurors had some concerns that I guess when he was outside, either going to their parking place or whatnot, that he noticed a somebody with a long photo lens taking pictures of him.
Damn, we had a name for it in the U.S. Rachel C. coming through here. We called it blood sausage, and they called it black pudding in the UK at least.
And
I'm sure all
I want to
over.
find out a little more about that and to make sure if it's happening, it better not. It's real simple. Mr. Rosen?
Do we want to flick off the cameras for this one?
No, he's in the jury box. You can't see him.
Well, I'm thinking about the answers.
I'm sorry?
I'm thinking about the answers
In what way?
in terms of,
Not if we voice our questions accordingly. It shouldn't be a problem.
I think you're in control of the questions this morning.
Well, it's up to, I'm not going to stop you from making an inquiry, but I think a little common sense goes a long way, as it normally does. And you have lots of that.
We certainly don't want to pierce that wall of anonymity.
Dude, this judge
think
rules.
that's
Like, he can tell you to suck a dick and fuck off in the nicest way possible.
He's
With
one
a
of the
smile
two
on his
jurors that is
face.
most likely, and he recognizes it, that people may well know who he is, and so far, certainly the mainstream media has been they may not agree with my decision, but they certainly have respected it, which is all that I ask. Not that they agree, just that they understand what we're doing and why. And the reasons that we have an anonymous jury is so that we can pick a good jury, so that we can get a true cross-section of people who are not concerned about having their anonymity pierced, that they are able to go on their lives and with their lives without having people annoy them. And that protects primarily the defendant's right to a fair trial, which is why I did it. Okay? And which the law allows me to do. Now, let's bring out juror number 6, if you will. I hope this will be very brief. I have read your letter. Does that pretty well summarize? Why don't you summarize for me exactly what has happened as the Times has contacted me, it's been reported in the Times in your letter to me.
Yes. The journalist who contacted me is someone who I have a professional relationship with and also have social interaction with on a ongoing basis.
When you say, does that mean a dating relationship or?
There's been a lot of spice that comes through on this.
Social within professional.
Okay.
When I was impaneled on the jury, the journalist had contacted my corporate communications office asking if, trying to find out who was impaneled, because this is someone that I have an ongoing relationship with. I had left a voicemail saying that I was impaneled, and I look forward to talking to her after everything was done. I received an email, I think around March 20-something, about technology, 3D technology, theatrical distribution, which is kind of stuff we normally talk about, to which I responded back to. And then I heard back from her on May 2nd if I thought that it would warrant a book. I responded back, and then she sent a separate email asking about the jury service, if it would impact my ability to be able to to function in supporting our summer releases.
There's something about a book that went by me. I'd like to go back. What would support a book?
The question was about 3D technology and theatrical distribution. And then a week later or so, she said, do you think there's a book in this?
You're talking about the technology as opposed to your jury service?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Yep.
Okay.
And then when she asked about the jury service impacting my job, I did not respond back. I left a voicemail saying the jury service would absolutely not impact my ability to get my job done. And I work, of course, ridiculous hours, blah, blah, blah. That's it.
Is there anything about this contact that in any way concerns you as to whether you can be a fair and impartial juror towards both sides in this case?
No, sir.
All right. Does any counsel wish to do any further inquiry?
I just have a couple of questions.
All right.
Of course you do. This guy's endless with the questions.
Was there any approach, verbally or through writing, from this? I understand it's a freelance writer, is that correct? This young lady?
Who's Spector even looking at?
Yes, I guess so.
Was there any inquiries by her, either by way of email or any other way, to ask you about what you were doing in the trial?
Not about what I'm doing in the trial.
And was there any questions at all about anything to do with the trial?
Well, it related to if the jury service would impact my ability to do my job.
Okay. Other than that?
No.
That was the only subject which touched on it. That was a terrible question. Let me rephrase it. That was the only question that touched on your jury service.
Yes, she made a humorous comment as well.
Is it one that we can share in open court, or you prefer not to?
I can certainly share it with you. I mean, I don't remember. Here's the thing: I don't have a committed memory. I think she.
The gist of it.
It'd probably be best if I gave you the email.
I'm sorry?
It would probably be best if I gave you guys.
If you want to file the emails with us, you may.
Yeah,
You can just bring it with
otherwise,
you.
I'm going to paraphrase something.
All right, bring it with us, and we'll put it in an envelope, and I'll share it with everybody. That's fine.
Just one last question. Is there anything about this contact with this young lady that in any way would bear upon your service here in this case?
No, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right, anything further? People?
No, thank you, Your Honor, nothing further.
All right, let's bring out the rest of the jurors then. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Let's go. Get the jury out here. It's been weeks on Murder Church with no jury.
All right, the record will now reflect
Lord.
that all of our jurors and
Yo,
alternates
Dave,
are
what's up,
present.
man?
Good morning
Thanks for
and
coming in
welcome
here.
back, ladies and gentlemen. Just before
Morning.
we resume with testimony, something's been brought to my attention, and it may be very minor,
God.
it may be nothing, it may be something, and I want to see if any of the other jurors, if it's happened to them. Juror number 7, I understand that you believe that when you were pulling out of where we have you parking, that you saw somebody with a long lens attempting to take a picture of you?
Well, when as I was just pulling out, I was just looking for traffic, and when I glanced across the street towards the courthouse, because that's the direction.
Not going to be doing that.
I just saw this black round thing pointing at the direction of the exit.
I don't like that.
To the parking lot. And
I'll let the
you remember
judge.
when it was? It was last Monday.
Last Monday, okay.
About, was it 10 o'clock or so?
All right.
And I said, no, I wonder what that is. And then I said, oh, looks like a camera glass. And then, so I just kind of glanced away because I was looking at the pedestrians.
Okay.
And then I glanced back again, and then some cars came. I couldn't get out. It was kind of jammed up. And then I saw a person walk in front of the camera with a white jacket and I think it was a woman.
Trying to dox the jury.
It might have been a skirt or pants. I don't remember.
What do you think?
And then as the traffic moved, then the person moved away from the camera again, and then I looked and the camera's back in view of myself. And that was something I
It's
noticed.
good for you to bring this to our attention. Any other jurors notice that? Anybody? Okay, well, thank you very
And
much.
it was on Broad.
No more information. Because I'm aware of where you're parking and whatnot.
He's like, if you'd like to know exactly where I'm parking.
innocuous,
Sorry, Judge.
And I'm going to, at this point, I have no other information. I would just say that anyone that wishes to in any way violate this jury's anonymity or in any way tamper with this jury, I look forward to the day that you're in my courtroom. With that said, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, we are.
All right.
Don't fuck with Judge Bruce Willis. Judge Dowhard. Not going to have it. He's got 2 monikers. I like
Raise
it.
your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending
Here we go,
before this
baby.
court
Finally, the
is true,
trial
the whole
can
truth, and nothing
commence.
but the truth, so help you God.
Lord.
Thank you. Please be seated.
tell you something, brother.
We are back, baby.
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Chris Russ, C-H-R-I-S-R-U-S-S.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, officer.
It's a Blair. Welcome in here. Good morning.
What's your occupation and assignment right now?
I'm a sergeant assigned to
Yeah,
the
this
Special
judge rules,
Standards
man.
Unit
He's
of the
one of my
Pasadena
favorites
Police
I've seen since I've started
How
doing
long
this.
have you worked with the Pasadena Police Department?
A little over 12 years.
I'd like to invite your attention to July 3rd, 1993. You were employed by the Pasadena Police Department on that day?
Yes, I was.
As of that day, how long have you been with Pasadena PD?
Approximately 6 months.
Had you worked as a peace officer prior to joining the Pasadena Police Department?
Yes, I did.
Explain that briefly.
I worked for the Lincoln Police Department in Northern California for approximately 11 years.
11 years?
Yes.
So even though you'd just been with Pasadena Police Department for 6 months in July of 1993, you had over 11 years of police experience, correct?
That's correct.
Now, on that day at about 5 o'clock in the morning, were you actually working?
Yes, I was.
So in July 3rd, 1993, you were working. What was your capacity? What was your job that day?
I was assigned to patrol with a partner, routine patrol services.
So you were in a black and white vehicle?
Yes, I was.
In uniform?
Yes.
And your partner's name?
Max Dahlstein.
On that day at about 5:15 in the morning, did you receive a call to do something?
Yes, I did.
What was it?
We were assigned to respond to an address in Pasadena regarding...
Oh, yeah, I know this judge. She was the judge for that one son of a bitch, fucking Daryl Brooks. Yeah, this lady was awesome, man. She was amazing. She was a really good judge.
Was that 1210 South Arroyo in Pasadena?
Yes, it was.
And
Yeah, she was
after
cool.
receiving the call, did
She
you
went
go
through a
to
lot
that
with
location?
that one.
Yes.
Your Honor, could we have Peoples 1 up on the board? All right. Thank you. Officer, I'd like to invite your attention to Peoples 1 for identification. There are two people shown in that photograph. For the purpose of this question, do you recognize the woman as a person that you met on July 3rd, 1993 at about 5:15 in the morning?
Yes, I do.
Dorothy Melvin?
That's correct.
And I understand this was a long time ago. What, about 13 years ago, correct? 14 years ago. To the best of your recollection, where did you first meet Dorothy Melvin?
I believe it was on the roadway in front of the house or just a short distance from the home.
When you say the house, do you mean the address 1210 South Arroyo?
Yes, I do.
Now,
when you went to that location...
Got a close up. It's been weeks. Finally, it's the same wig. We haven't changed wigs yet. This trial. I'm waiting on that, but he's still kind of rocking the '60s mop look. You know, he's still trying to do maybe the Beatles, the Monkees type of vibe here. We want different wigs, Phil. Get it going, son. Welcome back, though, you creepy bastard.
Was she a pedestrian in the street? Was she in a car? What was she doing?
She was next to a car that was parked in the roadway.
And did you have a short conversation with her?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said that she was at her boyfriend's home, the home of Phil Spector, and that he had displayed a handgun and forced her to leave the residence and also forced her to leave her purse behind.
So she told you about a gun and a handbag, correct?
That's correct.
Did she make any request to you with respect to the handbag?
Yes, she wanted us to go to the residence and recover her handbag.
Now, as
that's actually been too nice to
July 3rd,
too mean to creeps.
when Dorothy Melvin said, "My boyfriend Phil Spector," did that name have any significance to you at all?
No.
Had you ever heard that name before?
No.
After Dorothy Melvin told you what you've just told us, what did you do next?
We went to the residence and contacted Phil Spector.
How far away from where you met Dorothy Melvin was the home where you found Phil Spector?
To the best of my recollection, just a short distance.
Did you actually have a face-to-face conversation with him at that location?
Yes.
Again, inviting your attention to People's one for identification. Do you see the person that you met, that you learned to be Phil Spector, on that date in 1993 in the photograph?
Yes, that appears to be him.
And do you see him here in court?
Yes, I do.
With the pink shirt?
That's correct.
Indicating the
Creepy dude with the smile that looks like a man-child.
Your Honor. So after you
Look
talked
at those
to
eyes,
Melvin,
dude.
you went to the address at 1210 South Arroyo, met Phil Spector. What happened next?
We explained to him why we were there and asked permission to go inside the home and search for the purse.
Did he have any response to you with regard to this request?
He led us into the home and allowed us to look for the purse.
Did he talk to you about who he was?
Yes, he told us his name.
It's 1220, Your Honor.
The objection's overruled.
Thank you very much. Please tell us.
He told us who he was and made a point to show us some of the artifacts in his home. One that I recall was a guitar.
Welcome in, Jesse. Good morning.
It was given to him by John Lennon.
Now, this is the first time, as you told us, that you met Phil Spector. But having that in mind, when you first talked to him, he told you about the guitar and the like. Was he pleasant and courteous or upset and angry?
He was pleasant.
You mentioned him, asked him for the handbag. What was his response? Come in and look?
He allowed, I don't recall exactly what his response was, but he did allow us to look around the home.
Did you find the handbag immediately?
No, we didn't.
Now, when you say we, you mean you and your partner, correct?
That's correct.
After you did this, was it a quick or extensive search for the handbag?
A pretty casual, quick search for the handbag.
And after not finding the handbag, what did you do next?
We left the residence and recontacted Dorothy Melvin.
Was she still in the same place, to the best of your recollection, that you left her when you went to Spector's house?
I don't
Are you
recall
sure?
for sure.
When you say you don't recall, you aren't sure whether she was there or perhaps at the police station?
That's correct.
Okay. A long time ago.
Yes.
You returned to Dorothy Melvin at one place or another. Did you tell her the results of your search at Phil Spector's house?
Yes, we did.
And what was her response, if any?
And just for a second, I may need to get some people up to date, just that is new in here on this. You know, this lady, the person in the picture, the purse, the owner of the purse that they're talking about here, she initially was held hostage by Spector with a gun. And then when she finally got to leave, when he allowed her to leave, she forgot her purse. He kept the purse, however that went. She leaves. He actually hit her with the gun as well. And she calls the police, of course. She's like, I don't want my purse. All she wants is the purse back. She's not trying to press charges. She works for another celebrity, and she doesn't want this out in the news, I'm guessing. I think she was the publicist. I may be getting the wording wrong there, for another celebrity. But all she wants is the purse back because it has important documents in it that she doesn't want in the hands of Spector. And he won't give this back. Even when the police come back, he says, this isn't here. And she's like, it's definitely there. And she's saying, I will press charges if I don't get my purse back. So just a little bit of
Ladies and
backstory.
gentlemen, this will be limited to explaining what, if anything, this and any other police officer did in response to what she said. It's not received for the truth of the matter asserted. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. You can answer the question.
She responded to information that we provided her. Phil Spector had told us that if Dorothy came to the house, that he would return the purse. At that point, we asked her if she was willing to go back to the residence, and then we accompanied her to the home.
So you went to Phil Spector's house, didn't find the handbag, went back to Dorothy Melvin, and then all three of you went?
Overruled. This helps put it in context. Overruled.
All three of you went back to Phil Spector's house on Arroyo Parkway. Arroyo Drive, I'm sorry.
Arroyo Boulevard, yes.
Yes. When you all arrived, all three of you, what happened then? Tell us.
My partner and I contacted Mr. Spector, I believe it was at the front door or a side door. At that point, initially he was cooperative, and I'm not sure of the circumstances, but for some reason he became upset and demanded that we leave.
At that point, well, let me withdraw that and ask you this. You told us earlier that Dorothy Melvin mentioned that there was a handgun involved.
Yes.
Correct. At that point, did you see a handgun?
No, I didn't.
Did you see any evidence or indication of a handgun?
Not at that point.
Later on, did you?
I saw a shoulder holster that was worn by Mr. Spector.
And could you describe that for us?
As best as I can recall, I believe it was for a small handgun, and I believe it was brown in color.
Now, did that mean anything to you with respect to officer safety? An empty shoulder holster but no gun. Did you think there might be a gun somewhere?
Yes, I did.
And what, if anything, did you do with respect to that? Were you cautious?
Yes, this was shortly after a supervisor was requested to come to the scene. We detained Mr. Spector. And I don't recall if I saw the shoulder holster before or after we detained him. He was placed in handcuffs.
All right, but we got a little ahead of ourselves. So you came back with Dorothy Melvin to his house, Phil Spector's house. He became upset at some point and asked you to leave.
Correct.
What did you do then? Did you leave?
No, we requested a supervisor.
And that would have been, what, a sergeant?
Yes.
And why did you do that? Why did you ask for a sergeant?
Objection on the
Overruled.
We requested a sergeant because the nature of the call, possibly we might make an arrest for a robbery, the fact that he was uncooperative and demanding us to leave the residence.
And that's what you're supposed to do according to your policies, correct?
According to standard practice, yes.
At some point, after you made that request, I guess over the radio, is that right?
Most likely, yes.
Did a sergeant from your department arrive at Phil Spector's house?
Yes.
Was there a brief discussion with the sergeant filling them in?
One of us, either my partner or I, would have briefed our sergeant about the circumstances.
Now there are four of you. You and your partner, the sergeant, and Dorothy Melvin, correct?
Correct.
What happened next?
At that point, we detained Mr. Spector, placed him in handcuffs, and I believe that's when I saw the shoulder holster.
Now, you said at some point he became upset. Was
Yes.
that before you called this sergeant?
Yes, it was.
Describe to us how he was upset, because earlier you said when you first contacted him, he was polite and courteous.
I don't recall exactly. I know that the report that I wrote says that he was irate and uncooperative, and I can't really describe what his actions were at this point.
And in fact, let me ask you a couple of questions about that. Your last answer. You wrote a report about this.
Yes, I did.
What, 2-3 pages?
I believe it's 4 pages total.
And where you outlined, to the best of your recollection back then, what happened.
Yes, I did.
And the report would have contained Phil Spector, Dorothy Melvin's names, right?
That's correct.
And where it occurred?
Yes.
And the request for the handbag?
Yes.
Okay. So, to the best of your recollection, Phil Spector was upset. He was handcuffed and detained. Is that right? What did you do next? Were you still looking for the handbag?
My partner looked around the residence for the handbag.
And what happened? What was the result of that search?
He found the person in the living room.
And after apparently he found the handbag, did he come back to where you were?
I believe so.
And you saw it?
I can't recall if I saw the person on.
At some point, did you see Dorothy Melvin with the handbag?
Yes, I did.
And where was she when your partner gave it to her?
I don't recall if we were in the yard or out near her car.
Somewhere near the Phil Spector residence?
Yes, that's correct.
And did she appear to recognize the handbag and indicate to you that it was hers?
Yes, she did.
Now, we earlier talked about the shoulder holster and the fact that you did not see a handgun. Did you ever see any kind of weapon while you were at Spector's house?
Yes, I did.
What kind of weapon?
It was a shotgun.
When did you see it?
Sometime just before we left the residence.
After your supervisor arrived?
That's correct.
The sergeant?
That's correct.
And before or after, or do you recall, in relationship to finding the shotgun? Okay, let me withdraw it and ask you again. You said you found the shotgun. Do you recall whether or not you found that before or after the handbag was located?
I don't recall.
Okay. All right. Describe the shotgun for us.
As best I can remember, it was a pump shotgun. I believe it had a brown ribbed forend, and that's all I can remember.
Did you actually find it?
I don't recall if I did or not.
But you saw it there?
That's correct.
In his house?
Yes.
And this was after you noticed the shoulder holster?
Correct.
So you were a little bit on alert for guns?
That's correct.
And that would have been for your safety and the safety of your fellow officers?
The questions are really getting leading and suggestive.
Sustained. Why were you concerned about any weapons, shotgun or handgun?
We were actually looking for the handgun, and I believe that's when the shotgun was found.
Now, after the handbag was found and returned to Dorothy Melvin, was there a conversation with her regarding whether or not this was going to be pursued more? whether a report or charges were going to be pursued?
Yes.
And where did that occur?
I believe it occurred near her vehicle.
And did you participate in that conversation?
I don't recall if I was directly involved or nearby.
But you heard it. You were within earshot, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And what did she say and what was said to her, if you recall?
I remember her telling us that she didn't want to pursue formal charges against Mr. Spector because of her status, her employment status, and Mr. Spector's position within the, I believe it was the music industry.
Did she, when you mentioned in your last answer, her employment status, did she elaborate on that?
Yes, she said she was the manager of Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers. I was trying to think of that earlier. Yeah, she worked for Joan Rivers and didn't want this to get out into the news. This incident, she was dating Phil Spector. He became violent, and this entire situation seems like an absolute fucking nightmare, quite honestly. You have Phil Spector, who feels like, honestly, he's above the law, right? Like, I'm sure he's not had to answer to anybody. He has people that are, he's yes men around him, I'm sure, all the time. Somebody that is this. When he died in prison, he was worth $50 million. All that money never stops rolling in from all the royalties from those insane albums and bands that he worked with, right? Like, he produced the entire Let It Be album. Like, I couldn't even imagine the money that endlessly rolled in, and still probably rolls into some kind of family or a foundation. Yeah, and I'm sure being in prison, that easily paid for protection. He probably didn't have to worry about anything in prison.
At that time, did you know who
Good
Joan
question,
Rivers
yeah.
was?
Who ended up,
Yes, it is.
did he have
Because
other
earlier you
family that
said
could have got
you
the
didn't
money?
recall who Spector
I don't know.
was when you first went to this incident.
That's correct.
Who was Joan Rivers and why did that catch your attention? Overruled.
She was on television. I believe she had a talk show that was on syndicated television at the time.
Now, going back to the first of our questions and my questions and your answers, you said that you were on patrol at this time. That was your assignment.
Yes.
Shit,
How
maybe
long
the
did you
kids
work on
got some.
patrol during this period? Year, 2 years, 5 years?
With Pasadena Police Department?
Yes.
The entire time since I was hired, so approximately 6 months.
So I would imagine during that period of time you would get many domestic disturbance type calls. Is that right?
Objection, relevancy. Sustained.
Is there any reason that you particularly remember this incident?
Overruled.
Because of the status of Dorothy Melvin claiming that she was Joan Rivers' manager, the fact that Mr. Spector had shown us a guitar that he had received from John Lennon.
So that stood out in your memory even today.
That's correct.
Before, let me withdraw that and ask it this way. After the handbag was returned to Dorothy Melvin, do you recall her ever making any indication towards her head with respect to you or any of the other officers?
I remember her parting her hair on one side and leaning forward with her head.
And did she do that with respect to you or one of the other officers, or do you recall?
I don't recall.
Could I have a moment, please, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing further at this time.
Thank you. Defense?
Thank you.
Yeah, right, Sarah? Yeah, anybody that doesn't know this story from Phil Spector, he adopted 2 children and presented them as Christmas gifts to his first wife. Okay. He presented children, I think there were 4, 5, 6, around that area, twins even, if I'm not mistaken, as Christmas presents, as gifts. And from what I could read about those kids, they were abused.
My name is Mr. Rosen. I'm going
be right
to
back,
ask
guys.
you some questions here this morning, okay?
Okay.
If I ask a question and it's inarticulately put, you let me know and I'll rephrase, okay? As I understand it, as you sit here today, you have been working for law enforcement for 23 years combined, is that correct?
A little over 20 years, yes.
You're a veteran, correct?
I've been in the business for a little while.
A couple of decades and a half, huh? Okay. You started, you said, with the Lincoln Police Department, is that right?
That's correct.
I'm thinking Lincoln, Nebraska. I may be wrong about that, am I?
So
Lincoln,
freaking creepy,
California,
Jen.
northern part of the state.
And you were with them for 11 years, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you came to Pasadena, and in '93, I think you told Mr. Dixon you had been with Pasadena approximately 6 months, is that right?
That's correct.
And you are still with Pasadena today, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And today your title is Sergeant, correct?
Correct.
Let me ask you a little bit of your background and your history. Before you became a police officer, you attended an academy, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. It's required for all recruits, isn't that right?
Yes.
And in that academy, you take and you learn various disciplines. Isn't that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. One of the courses you take is you take a report writing class. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And that's a formal class, correct?
Yes.
Number of hours that you have to complete to the satisfaction of the department in order to pass, right?
That's correct.
And they teach you various things in this report writing class, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Let's take a moment and visit that. It's a number of hours, isn't it? 10, 15, 20 hours, something like that?
I don't recall.
Okay. A little while ago?
It's been a while, yes.
Okay. In that, they teach you how to fill out a report, how to write a report, because, of course, a police report ultimately becomes an official business record. Isn't that true?
That's correct.
And in the training that you receive, you are taught, as I understand it, to, when you write these reports, to be accurate, correct?
That's correct.
To be truthful, correct?
That's correct.
To be honest with what you were either told, saw, observed with your senses, correct?
That's correct.
You are also taught and trained to include all things of importance in terms of that particular instance or investigation at that moment, correct?
That's correct.
And you are taught to include things whether they are incriminatory or they are exculpatory. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
In other words, if they point to criminality or if they don't point to criminality. That's a fair statement, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You learned that in the academy, and you took that knowledge and that information with you into your profession as a law enforcement officer, correct?
That's correct.
And I assume there's just absolutely no way you could even begin to estimate how many reports, official police reports, you have authored yourself or participated and helped in authoring over 23 years in this profession. Is that fair?
That's fair, yes.
In the thousands, probably. Isn't that correct?
Most likely, yes.
And I would presume further and assume further that, like most of your colleagues and your brethren, once you write this report, you check it over carefully before you file it, correct?
That's correct.
And the reason you do that is you want to make sure that when you file a police report as an official business document, that it's accurate, true, and correct. Right?
That's correct.
Okay. And that has always been your practice as a law enforcement officer, correct?
Yes.
And certainly that was your practice in 1993 when you joined the Pasadena Police Department, right?
That's correct.
You certainly didn't leave your skills and experience behind you when you came there, did you?
No.
Okay. And in July of 93, that was your practice, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, on July 3rd of 93, that was your practice, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Your Honor, Foundation, may I approach to establish that's in fact it's the report? Thank you.
Let me ask you, do you intend to ask questions about this?
Yes, I do, and I'll return to the podium. But I just want to establish the foundation. Officer Russ, I want to hand you the report at this time that I have, and I want you to look at it over carefully, and make sure that, in fact, this is the report that
So
you
creepy.
authored on July 3rd of 1993. Your Honor, may I remain here while he's looking at it?
Yes.
That's correct. Yes, it is.
This is it.
Yes.
And in fact, at the bottom left-hand corner of the face page, I see printing that says C.
You know, I don't know if I've heard him talk yet. I feel like I probably have. I don't know if I've seen Spector actually talk yet, Dave, that I'm thinking about.
Russ. And unfortunately, my copy's not very good, but it looks like badge number, I can't make out the first digit, but it looks like 26 something. Is that correct?
It's 8269.
8269.
Correct.
Okay. And this is the report that you authored, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And the contents of this report reflect, as I understand it, the incident that you participated in and witnessed that Mr. Dixon just asked you extensively about a moment ago, correct?
Yes, it does.
Now, as I understand from your testimony, you indicated that you responded because I think you said that it was a possible 211. Is that right?
That's right.
All right. Let's define what a 211 means for those of us who do not work in the area like you and I do all the time. A 211 is a what?
It's a robbery.
It's a penal code section, correct?
That's correct.
And it is the penal code section that defines robbery, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you thought preliminarily it was a possible 211 because of what Miss Melvin had told you regarding the taking, the unlawful taking of her purse, correct?
That's correct.
The same purse that ultimately was returned to her by Officer Dahlstrom, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, before you filed this report with the Pasadena Police Department as an official business document, after you completed it, you read it over, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you checked it carefully to make sure that it was true, correct, and accurate. Is that not right?
That's correct.
You found no mistakes, no errors, nothing in there that caused you concern not to file it, correct?
Yes, sir.
And most importantly, you didn't find any omissions in this report that you would have wanted to include it if it was important to the investigation, correct?
Well, reviewing the report, I believe there are some omissions in there.
Okay. Let me ask you this. In terms of omissions, do you have a list of those in your head?
No, I don't.
Okay. There's another kind of, this is what's called a crime report, right? Pasadena Police Department crime report?
The report forms a crime report, but it's not a crime report.
You may.
You say it's a crime report, but it's not a crime report.
Correct.
What does it say at the very top of the page?
This is the form that's used to document.
No, sir. What does it say at the very top of the page? That's my question.
Crime report.
Read the whole portion at the top of the page.
Pasadena Police Department crime report.
Okay.
I don't like this guy. This guy's a prick. He's always trying to act like he's a know-it-all, quite frankly. Like, well, I guess that's why he's the defense attorney.
Page 3 and page 4. Would you
Hey,
take
Rachel,
that?
thanks for coming in here. Have a great day. You're absolutely amazing. Thanks so much, everyone, hanging this morning. It's been a great murder church. Thanks, Rachel.
Would you tell and share with the jury what does it say at the top of that?
Great
Pasadena
morning.
Police Department narrative report.
Okay.
Got 90 folks in here. This is a high murder church, actually. Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, hit that like if you haven't. We're one away from 70 likes. I know probably annoying hearing me say that all the time. That actually does help on the YouTube side of things. Gets us out there. Gets new folks to find Publicly Buzzed and Murder Church. Great morning. Y'all rule.
And the narrative report are the pages that are used to fill in or document the information that you obtain in the course of the investigation, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, there's another kind of a report that you're taught. There's a report called a supplemental report. You're familiar with that, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Would you share with the jury what is a supplemental report?
A supplementary report is written by any officers that might be involved in the incident to provide additional information, or in addition to the original report to provide additional information.
Okay. Did you said,
Freaking
to me a
sweet.
key phrase, provide additional information, and there's information that may have been omitted from the original report, or information that you may have come to at a later time as you continue your investigation, things of that nature, correct?
Morning, Jiggly.
In this case, you never filed a supplemental report. This report, this 4-page report that you've previously identified here this morning, is the only report that you filed, correct?
That's correct.
And we are now in the year 2007, and that means that in the last 14 years, no supplemental reports were filed by you in regards to any information that may have been omitted in the original report, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, sir. So let's go back to what we do have, which is your official report that you've identified. In this report, as I understand it, the face page, you identify Ms. Melvin as a possible victim and Mr. Spector as a possible suspect, correct?
Correct.
And you have the date and the time, is that right?
That's right.
And if we turn over to page 2, and if you need to, by the way, at any time, if I ask you a question and you need to look at it to refresh your memory, with his honor's permission, I will ask to bring it to you to show it to you, okay? I'm not trying to trick you here. I know it's been a while. But actually, you've looked at this report before you testified.
Charlene in the house also.
Yes, I did.
Love
How many
it.
times in the last couple of weeks have you looked at it?
3 or 4 times.
Why did you do that?
I looked at it before testifying each of the days that I came to court.
And that was in preparation for your testimony, correct?
That's correct.
Because this did happen some time ago, so you refreshed your memory by looking back at the report, right?
Yes, I did.
You were asked to do that by either Mr. Dixon or Mr. Jackson, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you complied?
Yes.
Okay, so you have now a working familiarity with your report, although it was filed and authored 17 years ago, correct?
I believe it was 14.
14, excuse me, you're right. Okay, well, that's what happens when you get over 60. You have senior moments from time to time. All right, directing your attention.
He can't even admit he's ever wrong. He's like, I'm aging a little bit. My brain's not working the way it used to.
To a portion report. On page 2, you indicated in your report that Ms. Melvin desired no prosecution or further police intervention. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And that's handwritten by you, right?
Yes, it is.
And further on down on page 2, actually, let me see, page 2 has several boxes in it. Is that correct?
Yes, it does.
All right. And at the bottom, there's a box checked for evidence, correct?
Yes.
And there's another box next to it entitled Solvability Factors, right?
Yes.
All right, I want you to focus on those 2 boxes. In the box entitled Evidence, it has a list of things, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I'm assuming you don't have those committed to memory.
No, I don't.
And I'm not trying to embarrass you, correct? All right. For example,
I don't know. Are you? What the fuck?
blood, bullet casing, bullet
Fight this
projectile,
man.
clothing, fingerprints, hair, controlled substances, stains, tools, vehicles, etc., correct?
Correct.
And what box did you check under in the evidence box section?
I don't believe I checked any boxes.
Okay, well, if I showed you a report, would it refresh your memory?
I do have a copy here if it's okay to...
Certainly.
You don't have to walk back.
It's up to the court.
You may refer to your own copy if you wish.
Don't read it to us. Just take a look at the box entitled Evidence. Does that refresh your memory that you really did, in fact, check a box?
Yes, it does.
And what box did you check?
Other.
There's a box right above Other, isn't there?
Julio, welcome in
And
here.
It has a title, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
That box is not
That is a
checked,
great
is it?
picture. The king with the Leonardo DiCaprio face. Holy shit.
No, it's not.
What is the word that appears next to that box?
Weapons.
Let's take a look at the box next to it, to the right. The box next to it, which is entitled Solvability Factors, also has a number of different boxes or sub-boxes which can be checked. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And for example, one says there was a witness to the crime, a suspect was arrested, a suspect was armed, a suspect can be described, et cetera, et cetera. There's about 10 or 12 boxes there, correct?
That's correct.
Now, in this particular section, Solvability Factors, you have no box checked, isn't that right?
That's right.
But you do have something you wrote in there, correct?
Yes.
You wrote the words, what?
Information only.
Share with the jury what that means.
Information only is that even though it's not a crime report, that this is a brief summary of what is called a suspicious search, a classification, which means that it's not being pursued for criminal prosecution. Therefore, it provides mainly the date, time of the incident, and a brief outline of the circumstances for documentation purposes.
Okay. So basically what you're doing is you're cataloging what occurred, but you're not referring it on for criminal prosecution. That's a fair statement, isn't it?
It's a brief summary outlining arrival, the circumstances, enough to document the incident.
In other words, it's for cataloging the incident, but not to be referred on for criminal prosecution, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Let's take a look at the first narrative page, or page of the narrative report, which is page 3 of 4, okay?
May I use my report? You may.
You have to ask the court's permission.
I gave it.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry. Okay, now, what I'd like you to do is, sir,
Yes.
you tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. I want to ask you questions, but I don't want you looking at your report unless you need to refresh your memory. If you do, let us know, and it's perfect.
Holy shit. Happy birthday, Dave. Wow. Hold on for a second. Holy cow. June 2nd, 1955. I'm that magical number today. Happy birthday to me. I watched this whole trial. Thanks for sharing this, Steve-O. Dave, man, happy birthday, dude. I hope you have an absolutely incredible day. That's crazy. That's awesome. Wow. Yeah, happy birthday. I need a happy birthday one. I haven't I'll give you a happy. I'm going to give you
Happy anniversary.
I'm going to give you a little Kramer.
Happy anniversary.
Pretend
Happy
like
anniversary.
it's saying happy birthday, huh?
Son of a bitch!
Just pretend that. That's awesome as hell. That's cool. Yeah, happy birthday, man. Dave's always out here representing, also coming through, showing love. Thank you, man.
Proper and appropriate for you to do that. But otherwise, I want you to testify from your memory, not by reading your report, okay?
Okay.
All right. On this page, there's another reference to what Miss Melvin expressed to you as to her desire that day, and that's found in the middle of the page, isn't it?
I'd have to look to see where it's at.
Okay. Why don't you take a look, and let me help you. It's paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. And just take a look at it, read it to yourself.
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, this
69 or nothing finer.
This is all your handwriting on both pages, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And your name again appears in the lower right-hand corner as reporting officer with your badge number on both of these pages, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, sir, as I read this, it indicates again that Ms. Melvin did not desire prosecution, seeking only the return of her property, correct?
That's correct.
I'd now like you to draw your attention, or turn your attention, if you would, please, to the second page of the narrative report. Do you have that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And once again, at the conclusion of your writing, your printed in the report, you have a section which is entitled Recommendation, isn't that right?
That's correct.
Tell the jury what your recommendation was in this matter.
The recommendation was case to detectives for information only. Case to detectives for information only.
For information only, just like you had written on page 2 in the solvability factors section entitled solvability factors, where you wrote information only.
That's correct.
And I assume the answers would be, again, the same. It's for information only, not for criminal prosecution.
Yes, sir.
So Mr. Spector was never...
What's up? Redondo Beach coming in here. Yeah, that is why we're doing this one. It's interesting to kind of see him be a prosecutor in this trial. Again, like you said, defending Karen Reed, the main defense attorney that's really got everyone talking, right? Like, he's the one out here being a badass, prosecuting Phil Spector.
Criminally charged as a result of any part of this investigation that you participated in the early morning hours of July 3rd, 1993. That is correct, isn't it?
That's correct.
Now, let's talk a little bit about another subject.
Shit, what's up? Young black economist in the house.
By the way, when you met with Mr. Spector that morning, you indicated that when you first met with him, he was pleasant and was cooperative, and then at another time became irate. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
Everybody
I
in the
assume
house.
you did
That's what
not.
I'm talking about. If y'all coming through the door, hit that like, give her a share, ski, let people know you're hanging out. That's awesome. We've had a crazy morning here today on the Old Murder Church. Appreciate it, guys.
Have any problems communicating with Mr. Spector in terms of him understanding you and you understanding him? You both spoke the English language that morning, right?
That's correct.
Mr. Spector was able to communicate with you. He responded to you. You spoke with him, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay. He wasn't drunk, was he?
I don't believe so.
There he is. These wigs will change as the trial commences again every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. right here, Murder Church. And I may do random Murder Church, like even on a Tuesday night randomly on some of my other lives. So keep an eye out on all socials. Make sure you're following here on for the community on YouTube and on X especially. That's where I do a lot of the promoting for sure. But I cannot wait until this wig changes and becomes something else. Because this motherfucker doesn't have any hair, dude. He's got a skullet.
The purse that was found, as I understand it, that morning, your partner officer was Max Dahlstrom, is that right?
Dahlstein. Yes.
Dahlstein, excuse me. And, Your Honor, let me spell that for Cindy. May I? It's, the first name obviously is conventional, M-A-X, and Dahlstein is D as in David, A-H-L, S as in Sam, T as in Tom, E-I-N as in Nancy. Okay? All right. And Mr. Dahlstein and you, or Officer Dahlstein, you were working as partners that morning, correct?
That's correct.
So it's your recollection that it was Mr. Dahlstein who found the purse, right?
That's what I have in the report.
And in fact, he found the purse in the open, right out in the open, didn't he?
I don't know. I just have it listed as the living room of the residence.
Correct. And he found it underneath the dining room table in the residence, which is, if you recall, a fairly large room, right?
I know the house was large. I don't recall if the dining room was large or not.
Okay. You didn't see him find it?
I don't believe so.
But he never told you that it was secreted or hidden, did he?
No, I don't believe so.
Now, you indicated that at some point...
Look at this creepy bastard.
Said that you saw a
Look at him.
holster. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the shoulder holster that you saw that when you returned to the residence with the sergeant. You didn't see it when you were there the first time, did you?
To the best of my recollection, it was when he was being detained, when the sergeant was present.
Correct. So the first time, your recollection is that he wasn't wearing it. You left, you indicated you left, waited for the sergeant, and then returned. And your recollection today is that you saw it after you returned with the sergeant for the second time. That's a fair statement, isn't it?
I don't know if he was wearing it the first time or not.
Okay, but you do remember it the second time?
That's correct.
There was no weapon in there, was there?
No, there wasn't.
And Mr. Spector never threatened you with a weapon, did he?
No, he didn't.
So freaking
And
creepy.
in terms of the fact that even though you said you did somewhat of a cursive search, I think you said, or a casual quick search, you didn't find any hand weapon, did you?
No, he didn't.
And you never returned to the residence later that day with a search warrant to search it more thoroughly to find a weapon, did you, a hand weapon?
No, he didn't.
Completely different, right? He looks like the fucking crypt keeper, dude. Like he's creepy as hell. Creep factor 1,000, bro.
Son of a bitch!
And
Mr.
short as
Spector,
hell.
He
Yeah.
never threatened you with any weapon that day, did he?
No.
Probably why he's such a dick.
You never arrested him for
Got the
robbery,
Napoleon complex.
No.
By the way, the pump shotgun that you've described in the residence, I know that it's a long time. You said you have only a vague recollection of it, but you don't know where in the residence, correct?
Correct.
Did you take that with you that day? You did not, did you?
No, he didn't.
The shotgun was left there, correct?
Yes.
With Mr. Spector.
That's correct.
All right. Now, I want to turn our attention now to a subject that Mr. Dixon brought up. Mr. Dixon asked you whether or not you looked at Miss Melvin that day, and you did look at her. You looked at her from time to time throughout the course of the incident, correct?
Yes.
I want to turn your attention to specifically...
I looked it up just real quick. I think Phil Spector is 68 during this trial.
Miss Melvin's head, okay? You with me?
Yes.
Debbie?
Okay. You described there was something that she did. She parted her hair, she leaned forward, and your recollection was she was showing another officer something. You're just not really clear on it, correct?
I'm not sure what she was doing, but she did part her hair and lean forward, and someone was looking at her head.
Well, let me ask you this. You noted in your police report, as you say, what happened that day. You talked about the incident. You described the incident, correct?
That's correct.
Is there anywhere in your police report, sir, that it reflects that you or your partner officer, Max Dahlstrom, saw any hematomas, any contusions, fancy words for saying bumps or lumps on the head? There isn't, is there?
No, there isn't.
Is there anywhere in this police report, which was, by the way, this was written right after the incident, correct?
I believe shortly thereafter, yes.
Okay, within a matter of hours, maybe even minutes, correct?
Probably, yes.
Very close to when the incident occurred.
Yes.
Is there anything in here that indicates that you observed, or any other officer observed, a laceration, a cut? There isn't, is there?
No.
is there anything in this report that you authored that indicates Miss Melvin was bleeding that morning from her head in any way? There is none. True?
True.
And finally, is there anything in this report, your official business record crime report and narrative report, that reflects that she was applying Neosporin to any head injury that morning? There is not, is there?
No, there isn't.
As a matter of fact, you were interviewed on April 29, 2004, correct? You were interviewed by Detective Richard Tomlin from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, isn't that right?
I believe it was sometime around then.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach for refreshing memory?
If he needs to have his memory refreshed.
If I showed you Detective Tomlin's report, might refresh your memory as to the day when you were interviewed?
Yes.
May I approach?
Either that or you can stipulate that that was the date he was interviewed.
Okay.
So stipulated? All right, ladies and gentlemen, you'll accept that stipulation as a fact proven to you that that was the date this officer was interviewed. You'll be instructed at the close of the trial as to how to evaluate and accept stipulations. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. And on that date, apparently in the afternoon hours, about 2:50, you were interviewed, were you not?
I believe both my partner and I were both interviewed.
Well, I'm just asking about you. Were you interviewed?
Yes.
Okay, and you were interviewed after Mr. Dalston was interviewed, correct?
I believe we were both in the same room. I don't recall.
Oh, all right.
But I believe we were together.
And you were interviewed by Detective Richard Tomlin from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, one of the case agents in this case, correct?
Yes, we were.
And Detective Tomlin, he asked you about that subject matter, any injuries to Miss Melvin's head, correct?
I don't recall, but he probably did.
Okay. Do you recall what your answer was when he asked you whether or not you saw any obvious injury to her head when this incident occurred?
No, I don't.
You may.
Sir, let me show you Detective Tomlin's report. You see it's called a Sheriff's Department Supplementary Report, and it's authored by Detective Richard Tomlin. Would you just take a look at the last paragraph and just read it to yourself if you would? We can sort of move it along if you just read the last couple of sentences. May I read that?
Yes.
You've now read that?
Yes, I have.
And in fact, your memory is now refreshed. That Detective Tomlin did ask you about whether or not you saw any obvious injury to the head, correct?
That's correct.
What'd you tell him?
I told him I didn't see any indication of any injuries.
See, Tayo Toys just shared it out also. Phil, thanks for sharing the stream out. Eve6, thanks for sharing that stream out. Yeah, everyone's supporting this morning. Been an incredible morning. I'm blown away, quite frankly.
At that time, you had been in law enforcement about 12 and a half years, correct?
Correct.
And you had knowledge at that time that in the course of an investigation, if you believe a crime has been committed, you want to do everything you can to preserve the integrity of any evidence that may develop at that time. That's a true statement, isn't it?
That's correct.
One of the ways law enforcement preserves the integrity of evidence is through the use of technology. Isn't that true?
In some cases, yes.
One form of technology, for example, is audio recordings or video recordings, correct?
That's correct.
Another form is using a camera to take pictures, correct?
Correct.
Are there any photos, to your knowledge, that exists of Miss Melvin's head from that morning?
I don't believe we took any photographs.
Photographs. In other words, let me ask it this way. Let me withdraw the question. Did you take any photographs of Miss Melvin's head that morning?
No, I did not.
Did Max Dahlstein do that?
I don't believe so.
Did the sergeant do that?
I don't believe so.
And the reason is because there was nothing to photograph, correct?
I don't know that.
Officer, if there were injuries, bumps, a laceration, bleeding...
It's just the way this guy comes off. Officer.
and the person told you that they had sustained these...
Imagine this guy getting a steak, either, depending on how he ordered it, either too well done or undercooked. Oh, God in heaven.
...injuries by an individual striking them with his hand, which held a weapon, and the weapon struck this person, you would have photographed that to preserve those injuries, correct?
Overruled. If he had some responsibility or felt he should have, he can answer.
If I was told that, yes, I would photograph that.
And you didn't, correct?
I wasn't told that.
Okay. In fact, let's take it to the next step. If you had seen, strike that, if somebody had told you that they had been struck with a hand that held a handgun, a steel handgun, hit in the head, and showed you that there were bumps or contusions, a laceration, and bleeding, and that person told you, I don't want to prosecute, I don't want to pursue this, you as an investigating officer would have listened to that, but you would have ignored it and conducted your business as a law enforcement officer by gathering the evidence and making a decision whether or not to present that as a case to the DA's office. That's a fair statement, isn't it?
Objection calls for speculation, assumes facts are not evidence, and proper.
It's compound. The objection is sustained.
I'll break it down. If you had seen somebody, strike that. If a person had contacted you and told you that they had been struck by a weapon or the hand holding a weapon in their head, you would have conducted further investigation, correct?
Yes.
If you were told that that person also had had her purse taken from her in the course of this, you would have conducted further investigation, correct?
That's correct.
If you had retrieved the purse, or one of your colleagues had retrieved the purse and returned it to the individual, and that person had indicated to you that they desired no further prosecution, you would have still continued to investigate, correct?
That's correct.
There we go.
And sir, if you had
Julio
determined
likes it.
that in fact
Likes
a
this defense
robbery had
attorney.
occurred, or an assault with a deadly weapon had occurred, or an assault with intent to commit great bodily injury had occurred, even though the potential victim had told you they didn't wish to prosecute, you would have rejected that request and presented it to the DA's office for them to make a determination as to whether or not a crime had occurred, correct?
Objection, speculation, argument, and compound.
Overruled. I believe he can answer that. Do you feel you're able to answer that question?
Yes, sir.
You may answer.
We would actually document the incident according to the crime that we were looking at, if all the elements were there, and then that would be presented to the detective section who would do the filing with the district attorneys if it was warranted.
Be in here,
Okay,
Debbie
help
Cook.
the jury here. I know what you mean. When you say present it to the detective section and present it for filing, there's a procedure, a process that goes through when cases are brought together and brought to the DA's office for when you say filing, correct?
Correct.
All right. Tell the jury, if you would, or explain to the jury, please, what that process is so they'll know what we're talking about.
After the report's written, it's reviewed by a supervisor. A determination is made at that point whether all of the information is in the report. The report's then forwarded to the detective section. They evaluate the report and conduct any follow-up that's necessary. If the case warrants filing with the district attorney's office for prosecution, then they pursue prosecution through the district attorney's office.
Okay. And in this instance, with the last 4 questions I asked you, if that were the case, you would have forwarded this on to the Detective Bureau for them to bring it to the DA's office to decide whether to issue a criminal complaint or not, correct?
Correct.
You didn't do that in this case, did you?
No, sir.
I mean, the guy's absolutely doing his job.
Your Honor, may I
No
have the
doubt
court's
about
indulgence
that.
for a moment, please?
You may.
Thank you.
And he's clearly good, or he wouldn't even be here. Got the liquor shakes over there with old Spector. I'm surprised Bodden isn't patting him on the head right now. Basically sitting on her lap.
Okay.
Being a good boy. Good little boy. Good little boy today while
I
he's
want to turn to
actually
the
in
last
trial.
area of inquiry here this morning.
Son of a bitch!
I want to thank you for your answers up to now. I want to return to your testimony a little bit earlier about what you included in your police report, okay?
Yes.
Does your 4-page police report, the official report that you filed regarding this incident, does it contain any information about Mr. Spector consuming a fifth of vodka in a short time? It does not, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Your report, again.
So I have to talk about this for a second. So there's so I'm a huge wrestling fan. I have a wrestling channel as well. And old school even. So like in 1995, a wrestler debuted to try to take out Hulk Hogan in WCW. And his name was the Yeti. And for no reason whatsoever, he looked like a mummy. It makes zero sense. But you guys talking about that makes me, because when he debuted, the announcer, Tony Schiavone, screams out, "It's the Yeti!" And you guys are making me want to scream out, especially tomorrow when we get back into the Karen Reed trial, "It's the Yeti!"
It does not contain any information, does it, that Ms. Melvin claimed that Mr. Spector pointed the gun directly at her, correct?
I'd have to look at the report in terms of...
Please do.
No, sir, it only says that he displayed a gun.
Displayed a gun. The word display is different than the words pointed at, isn't that true?
That's correct.
Get technical about it.
The report contains no statement attributable to Ms. Melvin that she was terrified during this incident. Isn't that true?
There is no statement like that.
The report does not contain any statement by Ms. Melvin that something sharp hit her in the head, correct?
That's correct.
The report does not contain a statement that Ms. Melvin said that Mr. Spector was seated on a stairwell or a staircase with a gun pointed at her, correct?
That's correct.
Is there anything in the report that Ms. Melvin indicated to you that she could feel the welts on her head and that there was blood on one of them from a laceration? There is not, is there?
No, there isn't.
Sergeant Russ, there is nothing in your report to indicate that Ms. Melvin threatened to have charges pressed against Mr. Spector that morning, correct?
That's correct.
When you came up to the residence with the sergeant, you indicated your recollection was that you came through either the back door or the side door and Mr. Spector was there, correct?
That's correct.
And you started talking with him.
I believe we were engaged in conversation before the sergeant arrived.
When you came up to the door, you did not hear Mr. Spector on the phone talking to somebody, laughing and joking, did you?
I don't recall that.
It's not in the report, is it?
That's correct.
There is nothing in the report that reflects that Mr. Spector threatened to sue you, is there?
No, but I do recall him making a comment like that.
Okay, but it's not in the report, is it?
No, it's not.
In fact, there is nothing in the report that Ms. Melvin threatened to press charges multiple times that morning, is there?
No, there isn't.
none of those subject matters that I just listed for you appear in your official police report that you filed at the Pasadena Police Department after this incident, correct?
I'm not sure if everything that you asked, I believe there was one question you asked that was actually in the report, the displayed versus pointing. And the other items were not.
The word displayed was in the report. The words pointed at were not.
Correct.
Okay. Other than that, the list of everything else none of those subjects, none of those points appear in your report, correct?
No, they don't.
Your Honor, may I have the court's indulgence for just a quick moment, please?
You may. Thank you. Redirect.
Officer, if you're out in the streets in patrol and somebody displays a gun at you or points it at you, it's both pretty serious situation, isn't it?
That's correct.
I noticed during your cross-examination with Mr. Rosen, you said, and I want to ask you about this, it was a crime report but not a crime report, correct?
Yes.
And what did you mean by that?
We use this form to document, this is our formal report form that's used to document information that's cataloged inside the police department. Under this particular case, the form was used to document what we list as a suspicious circumstance, which is an incident that doesn't amount to a crime, but it's done for the purposes of cataloging the date, time of occurrence, the people that are involved.
And the reason that it wasn't a crime report or didn't amount to a crime, did that have anything to do with the fact that Dorothy Melvin was so clear about the fact that she didn't want to prosecute?
Yes, her not wanting to prosecute was, I believe, was part of the reason why it was listed as a suspicious search versus a robbery report.
And she told you not only did she not want to prosecute, but told you exactly why.
That's correct.
It would have to interfere with, well, it might bring embarrassment to her employment.
Not in those exact words, but she felt that it would bring a lot of publicity for her and for Joan Rivers, also for Mr. Spector.
And she just wanted her handbag back, isn't that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So you also said that the report was for information only. Same reasons why?
That's correct.
So because it was for information only, not really a crime report, is that a reason why it was not as complete as if it had been a crime, if you were writing a real crime report?
In most cases, yes. The other information that was brought up in terms of the questioning, I don't recall that information ever being told to me.
But you were only one of two, and then later on 3 officers at the scene.
That's correct.
And did you from time to time see either the other 2 officers, your partner, or the sergeant talk with Dorothy Melvin?
I recall both of them talking with her, but I don't recall what they were talking about.
All right. At times out of earshot from you?
Sometimes, yes.
But notwithstanding the fact that this was for, let me withdraw that and ask you this. It wasn't your job at the time to take any report to the DA's office, correct?
No, it wasn't.
That was, I think you indicated, Mr. Rosen, the job of the detective division.
They would base their filing the case on the reports that we write as officers.
And did you tell Mr. Rosen that notwithstanding the fact that this was for information only, it still went to the detectives?
No, I did not.
Did it go to the detectives? Was it filed at some point?
Yes, as stated earlier, it was sent to detectives for information only.
But detectives did have this on their desk at some point?
I believe so.
And notwithstanding the fact that it was for information only, you did have a lot of facts in your report, isn't that correct?
Yes.
The time and date of this, 5:15 in the morning?
That's correct.
And who was involved? Phil Spector, Dorothy Melvin, right?
That's correct.
That it was a possible armed robbery?
That's correct.
And that Phil Spector forced Dorothy Melvin to leave her handbag behind as he displayed a gun at her? That's in the report, isn't it?
That's correct.
And that at some point Phil Spector denied knowledge of the purse or the handbag, and then later became irate and demanded that you leave his residence.
That's correct.
And at some point you had to handcuff him. All this is in the report, just for information, but it's in the report, correct?
Yes, it is.
and the fact that the handgun was, or excuse me, that the handbag was eventually found. Correct?
That's correct.
Let me ask you one last couple questions. Mr. Rosen asked you if you thought Phil Spector at this time when you contacted him at his home was under the influence of alcohol. I thought you hesitated. Did you?
The statement is stricken. The jury's admonished to disregard it.
Did you test him in any way for that?
No, I didn't.
And in fact, if it had been another situation, driving a car or something, there are a whole set of tests that you might give, like field sobriety tests, correct?
That's correct.
But you didn't in this situation?
No, sir.
Because he wasn't driving a car?
That's correct.
And wasn't the focus of your interest there?
No, it wasn't.
Could I have a moment? You may.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. Recross.
I'm not going to say a few questions. Anytime a lawyer says a few questions, you know you're in trouble. Mr. Dixon asked you the question, displaying a weapon and pointing a weapon are both serious, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but certainly not equally serious. If you determine in your investigation as a law enforcement officer that somebody points a weapon, a loaded weapon, directly at a person, that's far more serious in your mind professionally than if somebody just takes out a gun and displays it, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You indicated that your recollection was that Ms. Melvin didn't wish to prosecute because it would have brought a lot of attention to her, Ms. Rivers, and Mr. Spector, correct?
That's correct.
Now, her wishes not to prosecute certainly don't override your investigation if you believe that a crime is committed, correct?
It depends on the information that's provided regarding the crime.
Well, if you believe in your mind that a 211 or a 245, if you believe in your mind, if you believe that a robbery or an assault with a deadly weapon has occurred and you're investigating it and the person who you believe is the purported or alleged victim says, well, I don't want to prosecute, that's not going to stop you from furthering and conducting your investigation, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, it's been your experience that prior to July 3rd of 1993, you've had instances where people have said, I don't want to prosecute, and you go ahead and take the report, conduct your investigation, forward it on to the Detective Bureau, and it does get filed by the DA's office, right?
Yes, sir.
That's not unusual, is it?
No, it's not.
Mr. Dixon asked you whether or not, maybe I misheard this, did he ask you whether or not eventually a handgun was found? I may have misheard it.
I don't believe so.
Okay, because it wasn't, was there?
No,
there was no handgun found that day, right?
No.
Okay. Finally, he asked you, did you test Mr. Spector for alcohol? Recall that?
Yes.
And he asked you if, in fact, it was, for example, somebody driving a vehicle. There's a whole battery of tests you can have somebody attempt to perform, which are called FSTs, or field sobriety tests, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't have Mr. Spector perform any field sobriety tests, correct?
Correct.
You already told us under oath that you didn't believe he was drunk, correct?
Correct.
He wasn't falling down, was he?
Actually, I'd like to correct myself. I believe I said I don't recall if he was drunk.
Okay. If he was drunk, you probably would have noted in your report. That would have been an important point, correct?
I'm not sure, based on a suspicious search, if I would have noted that in the report.
All right. Well, it's not noted in the report, is it? There's nothing in the report to indicate that he had been drinking, that he was drunk, that he was under the influence of alcohol, correct?
That's correct.
And finally, if you had wanted to conduct a series of FSTs or field sobriety tests, or if you wanted to arrest Mr. Spector because you thought he was a criminal and done something wrong, you could have taken him to the station and also administered other tests, like a blood test or a breath test, correct?
We don't usually do that under these kind of cases.
But you could have done it, right? Nothing would have stopped you from doing it if you wanted to, right?
Correct.
You didn't administer any field sobriety test at the residence, did you?
No.
And you didn't take him anywhere else for further testing, correct?
That's correct.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Redirect.
No, thank you, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Thank you. Subject to recall, you may step down. Thank you for being here. Cindy, do you need a few
Yo,
minutes?
Fussy Puff, what's
All right.
up?
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be in recess for approximately 10 to 15
It
minutes.
was rough
Thank
for me this morning.
you. Keep in mind the admonition.
It's 12:07. Let's see how long this next one is. What are we looking at? 17 minutes. We're going to work through 17 minutes. We're going to keep rolling through this one right here. This is The Dorothy Melvin voicemails. It could get spicy. The jury hears frantic voicemails Phil Spector left for his ex-girlfriend Dorothy. We are going to listen to this. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Thanks, everyone, for coming in here today. Appreciate the shit out of it. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Crazy morning here on Murder Church. The support's has been crazy, quite frankly. Please hit the like if you have not. Still helps us out this morning. Share it out if you have not. Had amazing shares all over the socials. Crazy morning. Let's go.
And the alternate,
These voicemails, I bet, get
wanted to
spicy.
address me?
Yes, Your Honor, I think both Messrs. Jackson
Probably gonna get wild.
want to address it now.
Knowing this fuck dude.
Should I start with? Sure. Okay. Your Honor, as we recall last week, no, the week before last, we had discussed the issue regarding the tape-recorded phone messages, and I wanted to get on the record. Mr. Jackson graciously listened to my concerns and objections on 3 of the messages. Rather than redacting, he's just removed them, and he's presented to me now with a new revised transcript of those without those. So that issue is now no longer an issue.
All right.
The only issue left is, and it's a very brief one, is one, I would still object in general form to all of these tape-recorded phone messages on relevancy grounds, materiality grounds, and on 350.
Oh, we're listening to him. Sit down, buddy.
If the court is disinclined to...
Didn't I rule on these originally?
Hold up! Hold up! Hold up! Respect my house!
That's what Judge Bruce Willis just said. Judge Dowhart.
No, we didn't. What we did is we held it in advance to see if we could work it out, and then you asked us to revisit it with you one more time, and that's not the case. And then finally, if my objection to all of the tape-recorded phone messages is in fact overruled, I would ask the court to look at the last message. Unfortunately, none of these are dated or timed, but it's the last one, and it's just 5 pages, and it starts out with the sentence, "I hope you had a nice time at the Dodger Stadium." So there is a general objection to the entirety of the exhibit, but certainly within that there's a sub-objection, which is to this one that I just referenced, starting with, "I hope you had a nice time at Dodger Stadium."
Would you hand them to the clerk, please, so I can take a look at them? Response?
You don't need the original ones because we said one.
That's fine. Response from the people?
Your Honor, we really don't have any. We litigated this at the bench. I guess it was the week.
That's what I was asking, whether it had been litigated. Mr. Rosen says I didn't rule on it.
Oh, no, I think you did rule on it. Mr. Rosen had made at least my understanding is Mr. Rosen had made the representation that the only 3 portions that he had problems with were the highlighted portions, and I've taken all those out. And then we asked if we could get a stipulation for the foundation of the rest. He agreed, and that's what this is. This is the rest.
Okay, I may be mistaken, but I don't recall a general objection.
Give us the messages, bud. Sit down. You sit it down.
And your specific objection to the last one, Mr. Rosen? What, the use of language?
Yes, 352.
No, I think it's part and parcel. Quite bluntly, I think that goes to the heart of the matter. Your objections are overruled.
I understand.
All right, thank you. I'll give it back to Wendy. We're ready to proceed? You're ready for the jurors?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
All right, let's bring the jurors in and let's have another witness, please. Yes, sir, Mr. Cutler.
Something went by me.
I'm sorry.
Dear God. He's like, I just caught the flu. I'm going to be out for a few weeks.
What's your question?
Before these messages will be played.
I don't know when the district attorney intends to use it.
It's not coming in.
It is coming.
Not at this moment.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is?
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out.
Well, the jury is coming in, ladies and gentlemen. All right, thank you. All right, the jurors and alternates are now present. Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. We were doing some things outside your presence. Do the people have another witness?
Your Honor, at this time, we would offer a stipulation to counsel concerning some audio tracks that we intend to play for the jurors. At this time, there are 6, I believe, separate audio tracks, transcripts of which have been made and will be provided to the jurors at the court's request. I would ask counsel to stipulate that, for a foundational matter, that these are voicemail messages received from Philip Spector to Dorothy Melvin, received from Philip Spector by Dorothy Melvin at or near the time of the incident about which she testified. Each transcript is broken into its individual voicemail message, and separate audio track files will be played in order of the transcription.
Correct.
So stipulated?
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you'll accept that stipulation as a given fact, and the people may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you appoint the bailiff or me to hand these
You
transcripts?
can hand them out if you will.
Separated in general.
Have you marked a copy as an exhibit?
I haven't yet, Your Honor.
All right. Next in order will be People's 3, I believe.
I'll place a P3 in the upper right-hand corner of this document.
3 would be the transcript.
Yes.
Or compilation transcripts.
It's a group of transcripts. Wendy, does that work for you? All right.
And it's 12 pages long. Whenever the court's ready, we can begin with the first track.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Go.
Dear Dorothy, you came into town on Friday and you never called us. We found out that you got in and you left us a message, and we knew you were in town. You left a number where you were at, an 805 number, 818 number. How long have you been here, and why didn't you tell us you had arrived on Friday evening? What time did you get in? No, actually, you got in on Friday morning. That's what we were told. Or Thursday night. Today is July 3rd, so you must have arrived on the 1st. And you left some message on our service that you didn't want to be called at your home. Why would
I think
you
this is
do
the first
that?
time I've seen
And
heard
that
Phil
nobody
speak.
knew you were here. I didn't understand that message, but I don't know what it means. But obviously you're in town, and you left a message on our service that you were here and that you arrived early Thursday morning, July 1st. So actually July 2nd, excuse me. So call us when you get a chance, and it would be nice if you had told us that you were arriving. And why don't you have a number where we can reach you? Or is this the number we should call you at? In any event, where we can reach you? Or is this the number we should call you at? In any event, we're calling you today, Friday, July 2nd, 1993, for your message that you were coming into Los Angeles and that nobody knew where you were. So we figured it
I think this is
best
Spector.
to call your home number so that everyone, not everyone, but
Thanks for that share, brother.
reach you. So I assume you arrived Friday morning, and you left us a message that you were getting a manicure or something like that. So where are you? And call us, and we'd like to see you and talk with you. And don't be so mysterious. And if this is the number we should call you at, we will do that. Okay? All right. We'll talk to you, and we understand that why you're not telling anybody else you're in town. But I don't understand that message anyway. You said you're not telling anybody else that you're in town. But we appreciate that, and we hope this is the right number to leave you a message at. So call us back at our number, and we'll talk to you then. Bye.
Good morning, Irene. He sound a little different in this one. Like, he sounds a little bit more like a fucking troll. Like, the other one, he sounded halfway normal. This one, he sounds like a completely different person. Like, the same voice, but it's like, something's up. It's like split personalities. The personality disorder or something.
Sorry I'm late calling, Chief, but I have some trouble with my nipple ring.
Did he say he had trouble with his nipple ring? What?
Worry about the competition. Let the competition worry about you. All right, I cannot be replaced by a machine unless it learns to drink and all them things, right? Okay, keep smiling, Dorothy, but not so much that people begin to wonder if you're mentally unbalanced. And I expect a return call, but be very careful what you say to me, because nothing you say to me is worth your life. Goodbye, Dorothy.
All right, that was creepy as fuck. He started that out by talking about his nipple ring, which was just, why? Completely out of context, and ended it with something super creepy there, talking about, what the fuck? That was weird. That was fucking weird, right?
I hope you had a nice time at the Dodger Stadium. You talked to our lawyers. You violated one of the great laws.
He's getting more and more mad.
You deal with our lawyers from now on. You're and if you have a problem, you call them, and you don't line up for two. And you're never going to get out of what you did. You're and I'm going to get you for what you did. You will see papers Monday morning.
Your Honor, that completes the audio tracks that we intend to play at this time.
Do you wish to mark the audio as an exhibit?
I will at this time, Your Honor. Yes, and then I'll address the court. This is a matter of housekeeping. There's probably an easier way for us to go ahead and compile that down either on audio cassette or maybe a single CD instead of having
If that's what you want to do, we can hold off and do it at a later time.
Let's do that.
All
Let me
right.
talk to my technical people over the lunch hour, if you don't mind.
You talk to your people. All right.
And after
Do you want me to collect the transcripts?
And after you
Yes.
talk to the technical people, can you get a copy of it also?
Yes. Wendy, you have a question?
Well, I was going to say, just go ahead and mark it, and he doesn't have to give it to me until he has the one that he...
Well, we don't know what it's going to be. If we mark it, we can't tell you what the exhibit's going to be, but we know that there's going to be a need to mark
Okay.
an audio version of the transcripts that we just heard. Okay? Or transcripts that we used. All right, you may proceed.
Maybe we're like that I've collected all the transcripts from the jurors.
Right. And I'm assuming the court reporter did not report what was done.
Yeah, what was the nipple ring problem?
All right.
Can you expand upon
Thank
that,
you.
sir?
Your Honors, I
Getting hung on your shirt.
You have a witness problem now?
Yeah, just
Okay.
some transportation problems. We'll be here at 1:30. We'll be ready
Okay.
to proceed.
The next witness is coming from out of town and was delayed and will be present at 1:30, so we'll be in recess till 1:30. Is there anything else we can do outside the presence of the jury?
Yes, there is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Isn't it?
keep
You
in
could-
mind the
I could do an
admonition
all
will be
day
in
one on
recess
this one,
until
Lord.
1:30 this afternoon as far as you are concerned. Thank you. The jurors and the alternates have left the courtroom. What would you like to take up? Mr. Rosen?
Yes, Your Honor.
I do a Tuesday night church this week because I do a Tuesday night. I stream 4 times a week. Tuesday 9 p.m., Thursday 9 p.m., Friday 9 p.m., and then Sunday mornings, of course. So I might do a Tuesday night one just to keep this rolling. I mean, this is an interesting trial.
As I understand it, the prosecution is seeking to play 2 other tape-recorded phone messages, not with the next witness, but with Ms. Jennings, as I understand. Correct. And Mr. Jackson and I have spoken about this, Your Honor. Not to exclude you, Mr. Dixon.
That's fine. In fact, I was going to ask if I could be excused for this.
Certainly. Absolutely.
And Mr. Jackson provided me a transcript.
I'm going to be sick after that, actually. I'd like to be excused. I can't get the nipple ring out of my mind.
Prepared by his office of these two, it appears to be 2 messages. And,
This student is
I'm
nipple
going to
ring.
ask the court to take a look at it. I don't know if you have a copy of it.
I don't believe so. You may.
And as with the tape-recorded phone messages with the prior witness, we would interpose an objection on these two, on relevancy, materiality, and also on 352 grounds that the probative value does not justify or I should say outweigh the prejudicial effect. We believe that they should be excluded.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson?
Your Honor, these 2 phone calls, I believe the foundation will establish, were made directly after Ms. Jennings' last invitation by Phil Spector in 1996 to a birthday party to which she did
Old
not go.
calls, yeah.
They maintained a level of contact, some friendly contact after the incident that she's going to testify about, the Seminole gun incident. She was invited by Spector to a particular event. She didn't go, and these 2 messages, post-dated, are not going. I believe they are, in fact, relevant of Defendant Spector's state of mind and his relationship with her and how it relates to how he was treating her and not treating her. It's corroborative of her initial statement concerning the gun incident as well at the Carlisle Hotel.
Well, bottom line is I'll wait till she testifies, and then I'll see whether I believe they're admissible based on her testimony.
May I just respond?
Yes.
Very briefly. I hear what Mr. Jackson says, and of course, if I were sitting on the left side of the table, I would make a similar argument, but he's going to be able to get that in through the witness himself, and if you look at the language in this, it's highly prejudicial.
I'll take a look at it. Let me hear what she has to testify, how she testifies, and then I'll make a decision. Thank you.
We won't get to this until after the court.
That's correct.
Very well.
All right. Thank you. Anything further we can do?
Yeah, Your Honor, would this be a good time for us to make our offers prove that the court just keep the focus on the matters for tomorrow, or?
I think maybe we can do that at the end of the day.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. That's it. We're in recess till 1:30. Thank you.
Lord, what are we going to get next here? Just out of interest. Okay, the next one's a bit longer. It's going to be 41 minutes. Probably what we'll start Murder Church maybe on Tuesday night. Keep an eye on that. Unless anything else comes through that I really want to do right now, I'm going to go ahead and set it down, set it in stone. We're going to do Murder Church Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll do this, maybe another one, so it could go an hour and go 2 hours. Diane Ogden, a former friend of Spector who also claims that he held a gun to her head when she tried to leave his home. It seems like we got a theme here with this fucking guy. He likes to pull guns on women and threaten them and at least put them in fear of their safety. So this night, with Lana Clarkson, was she trying to leave, not trying to entertain his advances, and then he does the same thing, and he's drunk, right? He's been doing probably party favors as well, trying to scare her with the gun, and maybe it goes off. Maybe he slips up. Maybe a struggle commences. But either way, a woman is dead, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Wild Murder Church. It's been an insane morning here. Can't thank Jay enough. He had an amazing, he dropped a premiere, Karen Reed premiere from Alan Jackson, doing Alan Jackson's badass work. What Alan Jackson does right here every Sunday morning as a prosecutor. Please come back. Loved it. If you haven't sub up to Publicly Buzzed. Again, Murder Church every Sunday morning at 9 p.m. You never know when we might do another episode like this Tuesday night. I plan on doing one at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. In the morning, Karen Reed is back. We're going to be watching that with my man Jay, with Bob Mata. I think Bob will be back, I'm guessing. I guess for CrimeCon, he'll get back from that. I don't actually know, but I'm guessing. But I do know that Karen Reed is back tomorrow, and Jay should be streaming that. So make sure. I was looking to see if he had the link up, but I don't see it. So, but wow. Insane morning. One more time real quick, just let me show out it's been a good ass morning. Oh God. First of all, I gave out 5 memberships. You guys welcome in here. Keep eyes on everything. I'm going to have something planned for this month. Pamela coming through with the $9.99. Thank you very much. Appreciate the shit out of that. Right behind that, Gandy's coming through $4.99. with an amazing joke. I'm going to read it again. I heard Pornhub was sued by Hamster X a while ago. The trial was long and hard, but ended in a hung jury. Thank you, Gambies, for coming through here. And everybody that shared this morning on X, you guys are the real MVPs, keeping this thing going, baby. Bonnie Bailey coming through with 5, passing the plate around. Thank you so much as well. And the Jake came through twice with gifting out memberships. Love it. And then right now I'm going to end this thing off with a happy birthday to Dave Umbai. Hope I'm saying that last name right. Dave, you rule. You've been in here for 2 months as a member. You've been coming through for a long time, even beyond that. Happy birthday. Welcome to 69. 69er, nothing finer. Let's go, baby. See you Tuesday night. See you in the morning in the chats. Love you guys.